Hello, fellow Hearthstonians. My name's Rob.
And I'm Eve.
And I'm Andrew.
And we're the hosts of Velen's Chosen Podcast,
where we discuss budget options for Hearthstone players.
And strategies for constructed ladder play.
And you're listening to
Coin Concede.
I guess that'll work, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to episode 95 of Coin Concede, a Hearthstone podcast dedicated to making the competitive side of the game more accessible to you. My name is Kenny, and I go by KCCO Gamer, and all the way from Thunder Bluff, Louisiana, we have Cinder.
Hi-ho, neighborino.
All the way from the Maelstrom, Louisiana, we have Appa.
Hey, everybody.
And from Gadgets and New York, we have Ridiculous Hat.
I got the best deals anywhere.
A little insight on the bonus episode if you want to go check that out. That was a lot of fun doing that. We missed you, Appa, but I'm sure you talk with these people every day anyway.
I would have much rather been doing the bonus episode than driving from New Orleans to Atlanta, and be real.
Yeah, that's okay though. You did good.
Did good. We'll talk about it here in a sec. But first, Coin Concede is supported in a large part by you, the average listener. But if you'd like to find out how you could be more than just a listener and support us or receive any rewards in return, head over to our patreon.com/CoinConcede site and check it out. We're going to be updating it soon, hopefully. We're starting to get up there. We're starting to get up there, boys and girls. So thank you so much for those that are here. We'll get to the new ones in a bit, but let's talk about our ladder and our coachings for a bit. Let's start with Appa.
I didn't do much laddering for the past week because DreamHack testing and everything in school and whatever else, but I did manage to get it to Met rank 4 right now. Still working on my last gold class, which is Priest. I'm almost at 400 wins, so making progress. And then as far as coaching, I have Big Crazy Gamer scheduled for Sunday, plus a bunch of personal coachings.
Great. And what about you, Hat?
I somehow hit rank 1, and then hit the final boss on stream, and then the same guy 3 times in a row had turn 1 Hungry Crab.
Oh no!
It was, I was a little crabby, but it was fine.
Clackety click.
It was fine. I streamed for I started at rank 1 2 stars. And I said, let's hit Legend, and then we didn't. And then I switched from Super Aggro Pally to Mid-Range Pally. It's actually Kalento's list. It doesn't play Blessing of Kings or Wicker Flame, which is good because I found both those cards kind of awkward. And it has room for Rag Lightlord, which I like because he gains life. And I won...
Who does he?
Yeah, he does. It says it right in the card. So that was actually really, really good for me until I hit the same Aggro Druid player 3 times in a row, setting us back to right where we started. So I'm probably going to make a push tomorrow night on stream. But, still rank 1 2 stars. We're knocking on the door.
I'm just trying so hard not to be singing. What about you, Cinder?
I fell off of my personal goal horse of playing a bunch of Rogue because I kept getting really big gold reward quests. So I was like, I'm going to do those. I can't resist. So the first one was a pile of mage stuff. It's I'll play some mage, and I accidentally got to rank 3, and those were cleared out. And then I got a bunch of druid stuff, like druids and beasts and stuff. It's oh, okay, well I'll just play some token druid, and I got halfway up rank 2. So now I kind of have to. I'm gonna have to spend this weekend pushing because now I can't. I'm so close. I can't not. It's it's an itch. I can't help it.
Oh yeah, and. Well, for me, I've been playing a lot of. I was going to ask you guys about this afterwards, but as far as Arena, I've been playing that nonstop. I suck at it, but I've been playing it. I've been getting like 3 wins, 4 wins, 5 wins. I'm at 6 and 1 win right now with Rogue. But I've been, enjoying that. I'm at 69 packs now, and my gold really hasn't suffered too much. Been doing the quests, and that's been keeping me up with the lower. But yeah, and then I have been playing Secret Mage. I lost 5 games in a row, and I was like, okay, I was fed up. I went to the salt mine in our Discord just for a second, and then decided to switch to Shaman and just kind of shot straight up to rank 10. But yeah, I got a suggestion to try Phenom's Secret Mage, so I may give that a try, and I may be playing a little bit more Miracle Jade Rogue.
That's basically what I got from rank 5 to 3 is Phenom's list.
Yeah, I was wanting to play Mage. I think I hit over 300 wins with my Rogue now, and my Mage is almost there too. And I think Druid was like last week or the week before I passed 300. So they're all about the same. I'm trying to switch between those 3. So, have you guys been playing Arena at all?
Yes.
Also, yes. Yeah, it's there's another free arena run that came out today. And I did a free arena run last week, and it was terrible. Like, I had a win 2 Warlock Games quest, and I had a Warlock arena run, and I did not get there. But I did another one, and I did a reasonable amount of wins. It's arena is very different from what I remember it, because I haven't played a lot since they updated it this last time, and you build decks and not curves now. It's definitely different from how I remember, because it used to be just draft 1s, 2s, and 3s, and you were fine.
Yeah, I've been playing a little bit, mostly trying to save my gold for buying packs when the new expansion drops. So I've only been playing with the free arena runs. I've been doing pretty mediocre. My deck's been all pretty like middle of the road, so I've got like 4, 5, 6 wins. But I haven't played too much. Mostly just the free runs, which is nice because like you get a free pack from playing your run, then you just like get the free bonus rewards basically.
Yeah, I tend to play. I played a paladin that had a legendary. What was it? What's the 2/2 bubble?
Wicker Flame.
Yeah, Wicker Flame. So I played against that, and then after that, he also played the. Oh my gosh, I'm so bad with names. The one where you can get to spells, either 1, 5, or 10. Kazakus. And I'm like, okay, you have no copies in it. How'd you plan that? Or if they have a duplicate, maybe they played it earlier. But having both of those, I was like, well, that's it. I couldn't do anything from there. So I've had some bad runs and some good ones. So it depends on what I've come across in the selection process too. But very interesting, different than I remember. So I agree with you, Hat. Ridiculous Hat. Alrighty, so I was gonna have a coaching this week, but due to bad internet, it did not happen. So with the internet upholding, we should have it later this week. And I scheduled another person for Friday. I'm off Friday, so anytime is good. And then, yeah, we'll be hearing about that next week. Cinder, you want to talk about yours?
So I may save the Esbroth coaching stories for Hat because we actually did a joint coaching. We did arena coaching.
Oh, okay.
Kind of did a little 3-headed giant. So I'll let Hat talk about that one. And I got a hold of TG Raider, who I was supposed to coach earlier, but life kind of hit him like a sack of bricks. But he did carve out time to get his coaching. And we got from rank 10 to rank 7, I believe. Like, it was just almost, we only lost one game. We went like 7-1 or 8-1 with mid-range Paladin. And he told me after the fact that he's been dealing with so much lately with life things that it was really nice to just get a win for once, and feel good about something. So like, I wanted to coach the whole world after that. Like, I feel I am a great coach. I love this. But yeah, I'm happy to have given him some relief from all that he's dealing with. So next time we'll do it again, maybe.
Absolutely. I'm sure there's other people that go to Hearthstone to get away from real life stuff too. I mean, me too. I started diving into the arena runs just because next month I have to move. We don't have a place yet. So it can be real frustrating at times. So I feel you. I hope everything goes better, and yeah, glad that something good came of it too.
Yeah.
All right, so Hat, let's hear about Esperoth.
But now I just want to go out and coach the universe. Like that story is so hype, and it's so nice that we like. What I love about this is that we make a tiny difference in a little hobby that like we're not in your job or your friendships, your relationship or your house life or whatever. Just like you want to play a game, you want to have fun, and we just help you win, and winning is great. So, yeah, it was so much fun. Esperoth has been a Twitter friend of mine for like a year, and she's a great positive force in the Discord and in multiple Discords, and you know when she's not working as the Skype call test lady. She plays Hearthstone on the weekend, and no, it's eerie. I know we mentioned it last time, but I'm going to keep bringing it up. And so Cinder and I had both had successful coaching with her in the past. We're just like, hey, you want to do an arena run? Because there's a free arena run. And so we picked Hunter, and then just kept going face for 6 matches in a row and won all of them. It
Yep.
was great.
Nice.
And I think she ended that run with 9 wins, I believe, which was by far her personal best. And that is something that it seems to be a recurring theme is people getting coached and then saying, I just hit my personal best. And like for me, that is the biggest reward for the coaching is just seeing people improve and better themselves and feel good about it. It's great.
Yeah, strongly agree. And she actually just hit her personal best on ladder as well today. She talked about it in our Discord. She's gearing up to make her first rank 10 push ever. So
That's fantastic.
Shout out Esperoth, you can do it. We believe in you. And then I also coached Pugus and Slime Guy, and those are 2 great dudes. I've known Slime Guy through THL, and Pugus was a like 100-minute makeup session. It was almost 2 hours, but not quite because we got started a little late. Apparently, it was bachelorette night, and got to talk to his girlfriend for a second. She was very nice.
Oh, I stopped by.
Yeah,
for a second
you were
for that.
there for that. Yeah, it was a fun experience.
I didn't know that's how you said his name. I always guessed it a different way.
How would you say it?
Puegas?
Oh, I said Pugus. I'm not sure if that's right.
It's EU, so yeah, it would be Pugas, not
Puegas.
Puega. Yeah.
Huh.
It could be Pugus, but I don't want to say Pugas and assume that's his name. So anyways, really fun with both of them. Slime Guy helped a little bit with DreamHack prep. I don't know if it went that well because I'm not super good at LHS, but we had a lot of fun. And then Slaviticus I'm coaching in as soon as we're done here, so Lord knows when that'll be because we got a lot of cards to talk about.
All right. Yeah, we got a lot to talk about. Cinder, you want to touch the listener league, or we're good on that?
Let's do it. We are in our final week of round robin play, and most of the matches are coming in. But if you happen to hear this before Friday night, you have until Friday night to finish your matches. If you don't, I will zero out your match, and you will get no points. And then after that is done, Saturday morning, I'm making the bracket, and we're going to do the 8-person, single elimination finals Saturday night at game night, 8 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, early morning in Europe, etc. And we will have the bonus for the person who wins, and you want to hang out for that. It's going to be cool.
It's going to be sweet.
Oh, yes.
I'm so stoked.
I couldn't be more. All right, so before we go to our news segment, let's give a thank you to Patrick M. He did pledge this week just before, I think it was today. So thank you so much for your pledge. We do appreciate it, and we're looking forward to getting to know you. Yeah, we did the bonus episode, so if you'd like to go check that out again, that would be the last episode. And basically that's covering some of our community members, those patrons that we asked to join this week. We're going to try and do them in groups for the next couple bonus episodes until we start catching up. Hopefully we never catch up and we keep going, but yeah, and we got a chance to get to know them, and they got to ask some questions that we don't normally get to answer. So go check that out. A lot of fun. You have fun with that, Pat, Cinder?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it was cool, and lots of good Southern accents in this league, or in this podcast community.
Roll Tide. All right,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
let's
Gross.
let's hit the news. right. So a few things we're going to mention this week for the news. We're going to make a little bit more room for some of the cards to go over later. Some no real explanations other than the card reviews of what's come out already. First things first, there was a Hearthstone comic that came out. I guess there was a second issue that Hat made aware to me, so I may do that after the after this show. But the first one was pretty good. Hat, what did you think of the first one?
It's, I haven't read comic books in a while.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a long time. So the medium still is. It's not something I ever really gelled with in like as something I wanted to continue doing. But I've always enjoyed the one-offs here and there, and it's nice reading this property that I'm aware of. I think it's fun, right? It's definitely a different format, and if you don't love comics, I don't think this is going to change your mind. But I enjoyed reading it, and I skimmed through it a little bit before the episode. I'm going to go back and read it again. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I think it really set the stage for this expansion as well.
I like it a lot. I like the stage it was in and what it was all about. I'm excited to read the next one, to be honest. I didn't read too much. I tend to watch anime more than I read comics. And I have some old ones I showed my son, but he's like, eh. I was like, what? You like this stuff? And he's like, I don't know. So if you like comics, go check it out. If you don't, I think you may still like it. It's different, a different way to consume, I guess, the lore and how they're taking it separate from Hearthstone itself. Like the first one was basically not true to the lore. Would you say, Cinder? I don't know if you had a chance to check it out.
I didn't get a chance to consume it.
I'd be interested to see
Yeah, I'll have to take a look. I've been the busiest of busy bees this week, so it's been kind of like not much time.
I want to hear what your wife is saying. Would say.
Yeah, she will probably tear it to shreds. If it's off lore and even
it's
the slightest, she will tear it up.
Yeah, it's off lore, but it's supposed to be. I mean, it's based off of storytelling, basically. So, yeah, like in Discord, they said it's an alternate retelling of the story. So that's that. We also have the card reveal is going to be live streamed on July 28th. So go check that out. I'm going to have the link in Twitch in just a second. And anything you guys want to say about that? It's pretty short and simple.
It's on Day 9's stream, and if you've never watched Day 9 stream, he is like a meme supreme. He enjoys the hell out of just finding weird stuff in the game and playing fun decks. So I suspect he will be real super excited about all the cards they preview. It should be a good time.
Day 9 is, so to quote Mystery Science Theater 3000, Day 9 is the lovable goofus of the gaming community.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
right.
Day 9. There's some old Day 9 clips that I still go back and watch. I think my favorite is the out of control bus driver is what it was. But there's also the where Mysterious Challenger is still around and he plays against a mage and then they get a Mysterious Challenger. It's like, man, Secret Paladin's messing up the ladder. Because even when you're against a mage, it's a Secret Paladin. He's just so funny and fun, and they did one for Ungora with him and Peter Whalen. This is him and Matt Place, who's a different senior designer. I think my first love is still Brodan, and that's for those who haven't seen it. That's Ben Broden and Frodan. It's Brodan. But I do think Day 9 makes any piece of content he's attached to better.
Cool. All right, and then the last thing we have here, it's not directly related to Hearthstone, but it's got gaming.
It has implications for esports, just like all over the place.
Since you're talking, Appa, you want to tell a little bit about that?
Yeah. So Overwatch League. This is Blizzard, right?
Yeah, this is Blizzard's official season 1 of Overwatch, professional Overwatch.
So basically, they're requiring teams to pay players at least $50,000 per year in salary, give them health insurance and retirement plan, and have housing taken care of and everything. And they'll be signed to 1-year contracts with the option to extend the contract. So basically, Blizzard is requiring the Overwatch League teams, like in organizations, to pay their players a living wage, like an actual job. like have benefits and everything. So it's definitely has big implications just for esports in general. It's like what players really want to see, and I'm sure like organizations don't want to see this because it's like a lot more money that they have to pay and like stuff they have to worry about. But it's really good for like player welfare.
Yeah, I mean, if you're, go ahead, Hat.
I hadn't read this. This is awesome. This is almost like Blizzard building a mini player union.
Yeah.
Which is, say what you will about unions, but like this makes Magic did the same thing when they invented the Pro Players Club, in that it tries to guarantee the lifestyle, and guaranteeing the lifestyle is by far the most important thing to the player, because they want to know, where am I going to sleep, what am I going to eat, and how am I going to get to tournaments. And this being locked in is so cool. I hadn't heard of this before. The health insurance and retirement savings plan is amazing. That's so good.
I mean, if you're going to actually dedicate the majority of your time working to improve yourself, even if it is at a video game, and someone is sponsoring you to do this because they get something in return, like tournament winnings, advertising revenue, etc., then you should be compensated for that time. It's really just as simple as that. If your energy, your labor goes into enriching someone else, they need to pay you back some of that. That is just fair as fair can be, and I'm really glad that Blizzard is taking the first step, because this is the first time I've heard of anything like this in esports. Esports is just rife with stories of people not getting paid, or contracts getting reneged on, teams just dissolving out of thin air, cyclone cough cough. So like, I'm really happy that Blizzard is putting their foot down and saying treat your players like people.
I think this is a great step. I would say more, but I'm basically repeating what you guys are saying. So let's hope it continues. I mean, this is really awesome to see. So that pretty much does it for news. So let's kick it over for Cinder.
It's the grand
Global Games is coming to a close very, very soon. This past week, we saw the field narrow down to just the final 4 teams. The first 2 we talked about last week. This past week, we saw South Korea and Mexico finish their match, and USA versus New Zealand. Starting with South Korea. South Korea piloting Druid, Control Paladin, and an Evolved Shaman. They played a nearly perfect set. They ended up 3-0ing Mexico. It's really unfortunate for Mexico, but that is a top 8 finish for a team that no one thought was going to do anything in this event, and they couldn't have been happier and more proud of themselves, and I am too. I'm really happy for them. They got some great exposure. They got shown to be creative and skilled pilots, so I'm happy to have at least seen them get that as far as they did. But sadly, they will be no longer in the global games. South Korea will advance to the Final 4. They'll be playing on Championship Day, which will be next month. Now, the other match was the one that I think most people were waiting for. It was the United States versus New Zealand. This was an absolutely grueling series, something like 3.5 hours long, guys. Like, I stayed up late to watch it. I almost regret it because it was late by the time they finished up. And then it was in a grueling series. They opened up with a grueling match of Control Paladin versus Control Paladin, and our champion was Amnesiac for this match, and he had just driven to Atlanta for DreamHack, so he was in a hotel room, probably hadn't eaten all day. It's midnight in Atlanta. He's got to be dog tired playing a Control Paladin mirror. My goodness. But he ends up winning that match, and the USA actually wins both of their first matches. The second match being a really tough win with Jay Druid versus Pirate Warrior, and of course that's usually the Pirate Warrior favored. So Dog did a great job piloting that. Did I say Jay Druid? Wait, where am I? I lost my notes. Yes, Jay Druid. In game 3, though, Pathra clawed back and got a win with the Evolved Shaman versus Taunt Warrior, which is unfavored for the Evolved Shaman. So she did a great job of pulling out a win there. And then Ting Tong ends up equalizing the series at 2-2 with a powerful performance on Token Druid versus Evolve Shaman. Yet again, another unfavorable match. Token Druid is about 47% against Evolve Shaman. And then Game 5, the Agonizer Supreme, a 25-minute freeze mage mirror. Ultimately, though, the mirror got very simplified when Amnesiac drew into an Eater of Secrets that he got to play behind Alex Straza and set up a win with Burn. Just play Eater, play a big couple burn spells, and you win. That's it. No, the rest of the game is irrelevant. So the USA wins on a 5-game match, and they advance to the championship along with South Korea, the Czech Republic, and Ukraine. That is the most stacked global games top 4 I can think of. I don't know about you guys.
Is this the first global games?
It is.
Then it's the best top 4 in history.
It really.
And I did manage to watch some of that USA versus New Zealand match, and it was really interesting. It's you can kind of see the skill of the players that have kind of forged themselves in the meta so far. I think the player I remember was actually one in a game Firebat lost against Ting Tong, which I really just like saying the word Ting Tong, so I'm going to say it a couple more times. Ting Tong, Ting Tong, Ting Tong. But Firebat, he was against a horrible board for him. But he plays a Stonehill Defender and has 2 mana up and has 3 different taunts to choose and chooses a Dirty Rat and reads his opponent as not having any minions in hand and plays it after a lot of thought and plays it right when the rope is about to burn down. And it didn't win him the game, but it was a very impressive read. And he looked unfazed by it, but I was certainly impressed. Just seeing the skill of the players at this level in the game, there's nobody that doesn't deserve to be here left. Everyone here is a fierce competitor.
That was a nail biter, and it was a late nail biter. It was late for me, and I can't believe you guys are out still. But
I was clawing my eyes out trying to stay awake for that last match.
You could see Amnesiac just rubbing his eyes every 2 seconds, just like, I gotta stay awake. Gotta stay awake.
And a 25-minute freeze mage mirror isn't known for keeping anybody awake, but here we are.
Yeah.
Though I will say, Cinder, you did make one mistake. Amnesiac wasn't dog tired. Dog's on his team. He was Amnesiac tired.
Did I say dog tired?
You did.
Well, I passed up an opportunity on that.
Yeah.
So let's ignore that and move on to DreamHack Atlanta that happened this past weekend. 169 players officially sat down and played through 9 rounds of Swiss best of 5. Last year was standing. This ended up being one of the longest DreamHacks ever recorded, due in no small part to the technical difficulties that happened on the first day. Internet in Atlanta went down for something like 3 to 4 hours, but they stuck with it and played their full set of Swiss games on Friday. And then just the tournament in general was just long, lots of drawn out matches. But they did finally get to a top 16 and play it out on Sunday. Now, like Valencia, though, that top 16, the list of players above that cut were a mix of unknowns and some known names. But the known names are fairly big this time around. Your top 16 were Chris LeBlanc, Syntherius, Sir Slim, which is Cora's brother Sage, Amnesiac, Rich Webbs, Mordekaiser, Caravaggio, Just Sayin, Pilu, Icer, Dr. Jicky Ninky, Impact, Noblord, Hot Girls, Naaman, and Chalky. So Naaman coming in from Europe trying to carpetbag the tournament. Notable on the lists, yes, Sir Slim. He is predominantly an arena player for the last 2-3 years. He's actually listed on the top 10 arena players from time to time. And he's one of those arena players that gets to rank 20 to get his card back and then goes back to arena. And that's all you ever see of him in competitive Hearthstone. And this was his first time out. So this was actually super exciting for somebody to make the transition from arena to constructed and actually do really, really well. Sage is a smart dude. So it was really exciting to see them in the top 16. But narrowed down to the top 8. The list of advancing players got slimmed down mostly to those known quantities. Half the sets in the round of 16 were 3-0 sweeps. 3 more were 3-1, and there was a single 3-2. However, every single set from the quarterfinals on, from the top 8 on, was a full 3-2 set every single match. The quarterfinals ended up being Just Saiyan defeating Chalky, Noblord defeating Rich Webbs, Naaman defeating Icer, Dr. Jikininki defeating Sir Slim. Sorry to see you, Sage, but congratulations on a great finish. In the semis, Noblord defeats Just Saiyan, and then Dr. J defeats Naaman. And that did give us an All-American Finals of Dr. J versus Noblord. And Dr. J ends up pulling it out in 5 sets, in a full 5-game set. And for most of these players, I got to say, too, this was a really important top 8 finish because all of these players were trying to find relevance, and some of them who need to remind the world that they were still relevant. Naaman hadn't had a high-profile finish all year, basically, and the Kazakhstan team performed pretty badly in HGG. Noblord really is, for as prolific as he is on ladder, his only tournament finish to date has been the TESPA, the collegiate series that he helped win. And then Saiyan, his only recent top finish was in in Austin just a couple months ago. So this is the first time he's really coming out and getting some top finishes as well. And then there's Dr. Jikininki, who has not had a high finish since he won the winter playoffs for the Americas just this year. So he did. Now I will say he did do really well in the One Nation of Gamers series, but since then that's it. Now getting top finishes in 3 tournaments in a span of 6 months is actually really, really good. But I think he's still trying to fight for the recognition and the respect of his peers. So this was a huge, huge win for him, and of course for Sir Slim too, showing that just being good at Hearthstone is almost good enough. Like if he polishes a little more, he might be like a serious tournament contender this year. So we really hope to see him. Now, as far as the decks for the weekend, Shaman was the best performing class of the tournament, sported a 54% win rate across the tournament, but it did perform poorly in the top 8. Evolved Shaman was just 2-9 above the cut. Secret Mage was the breakout, instead scoring 9-2 in the top 16. Mage was otherwise about 50% for the entire tournament, which is to be expected. And then Control Paladin, once again, very small in population, but highly successful. Noblord was 4-2 in the bracket with a N'Zoth Paladin variant. And Dragon Priest seemed to be the story of the tournament from the caster's perspective, but the numbers didn't really play out. It had just 4-4 in the top bracket, and the Priest was about 50% in Swiss, 85 and 87. So once again, I feel like I'm repeating myself week to week. The Control Paladin is real good. So, and once again, it had a really, really good finish. Thoughts from the Peanut?
Question for you, actually.
Gallery? Yes, Kenny.
Okay, so as far as the Evolved Shaman not doing well on the top there, Secret Mage is basically outperforming Evolved Shaman directly, right? And
at least
probably
in this event, it did, yes.
In this event, so I'm wondering, because they were in the top players were doing well with Secret Mage versus, or at least playing Secret Mage over the Evolved Shaman, knowing that Evolved Shaman is so strong. Would you say that was a call and that's why the numbers are showing that?
I will say, I'll definitely get Appa's input on this, but I did kind of predict going in that Secret Mage was going to become the top mage archetype starting with DreamHack Atlanta. I mean, Token Shaman or the Evolved Shaman was still the most commonly played deck. So it was in almost every lineup. But yeah, Secret Mage is kind of surging up as the popular variant for Mage, I think because it has such a good matchup against Burn Mage.
It just has the best numbers out of the Mage decks.
Yeah.
It has the most nut draw and high roll potential against the control decks. It trashes Jade Druid. It's the best Mage deck in the Mage mirrors, which is very important. And then, while it's not as good against the board decks like Evolved Shaman or Token Druid, it can still just high roll them out of the game with counter spells or whatever. Primordial Glyph's just a messed up card. So that could just easily steal games against those. So it's just the best Mage deck right now in terms of just sheer percentages across the board.
Yeah, it's
if you look at a matchup matrix of Secret Mage versus everything, most of it's going to be green by 60% up.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's exactly what I was gonna mention. And it's only poor matchups. It's really poor matchups are against Paladin, both mid range and aggro. But if you tech in a Spellbender, like you can easily tick up, 5 percentage points against Paladin because stealing or at least making dead a Spikered Steed is just game winning.
Yeah, like you
Mhm.
don't even need to play like the regular secret package of like 2 mirror out of these 2 counter spells. You can just like switch them up. Like
Mhm.
making your opponent guess is like almost as important as just like having the right secret for the scenario. Because like if they have the wrong read on like any random secret that you play, you just steal a game on the spot because they've just like wasted a turn and then you've gained that much tempo. Then you have like fireballs and primordial glyphs in your deck, and it's just not okay. So they're just like gonna be dead if they miss a turn because they guessed wrong on your secret, and they have to guess against like 6 or 7 different secrets. So like, just put some random ones in there. Like, I think didn't Just Saying, I don't know if it was Just Saying, but it was somebody on stream was playing Potion of Polymorph in their deck, or yeah, Potion of Polymorph.
Oh man, I didn't see that. I'm
Yeah,
gonna go
and
back and check that out.
I'm sure he got a lot of people with that, like during the tournament.
That was a tech for a little while, I think, and since the Quest Rogue nerf, the meta has shifted in a way opposite of what people would expect. There's a lot more. There's a decent more amount late game mid range and a lot more aggro. So Secret Mage is a little bit more competitive against both of those. Burn Mage kind of had that late game long term inevitability in the mid game board control, and both of
So
those things matter a lot less now.
the thing about Secret Mage is it's like right where you want to be. It's aggressive enough and disruptive enough against control decks and mid range to where like you get under them, then you stay ahead, then your secrets guarantee that you stay ahead, and then you can just close out the game with burn or whatever. And it's just you have to be good against Jade Druid in tournaments.
Yeah.
Like you just can't play Burn Mage or Freeze Mage like and realistically hope to beat Jade Druid like even more than like 30% of the time. But like Secret Mage is very good against Jade Druid because you're playing Mana Worms, you're playing Arcanologists, you're playing 0 mana 5/5s, you're playing Arcane Giants presumably. You're just like getting ahead of them and staying ahead, and you're disrupting them at the same time. So that's a big reason why we see Secret Mage. It's because like you just have to be good against Jade Druid because it's the control killer, and you have to bring it in your lineup like most of the time because like it is a slower format now. Jade Druid crushes all the slow decks.
Well, and
And
last
then,
year
like-
standing as well, you need to counter queuing matters so much more in this format, and Jade Druid
Yeah,
is
the-
the ultimate counter queue.
Yeah, like Secret Mage can like counter queue into a Jade Druid, and it can also just 3-0 series like super easily.
Well, I think that's also why there were so many 3-2s because they would just figure out what deck they had to beat in the last top 8. Well, I don't mean to go down a rabbit hole, but I'd like to make more time for the later explanations. Appa, did you want to talk about your experience, or do you want to pass on that? Or
Not really. I played really bad. I went 1-2, and then that's about my DreamHack experience. Played very poorly. I played one good set, and then I just got unlucky in game 5, and then round 2 I played just horrendously terrible against my teammate Tic Tac. It was just very bad, and now I'm more dedicated to playing a lot more Hearthstone, making sure that never ever happens again. Because that like
Yeah.
one
Doesn't feel
thing
good.
that I'm like not okay with is just like not living up to my own standards, and this weekend was just embarrassing for me. It was terrible.
all right, Cinder, you want to tell us what's coming up?
The Thailand Major is being played this weekend. That's being cast by our friend Gia, so please check that out. And the Super Gamer Girl Pro Finals, the top 8, are going to play on the 30th, and Cora is casting that with Rob Wing. So also please check that out. That should be really cool, and I'm super excited to see how this event plays out. This is really the first of its kind in the States, so I'm excited.
Girl power.
Yeah.
Who runs the world?
I heard it was girls.
I'm
I heard it was like old white men on Capitol Hill, but
All right, so
that talk about a
we-
rabbit
defense
hole.
contractors. What? Sorry. Okay.
let's. We did get a review this week. This is from the U.S. It's Drunken Monk. He was on our bonus episode. He titled it "The Pun You're Looking For." And he said, "This is a great Hearthstone podcast that will continue to ascend to great heights with thunderous applause. Beyond the great educational content, the laughs deserve a tip of the hat, however ridiculous that may sound. Even the birds sing their praises. Every aspiring Hearthstone gamer, even from the KC, should give a listen. All puns and jokes aside, this is my favorite podcast and production quality to content. The group melds very well together and mixes the proper amount of fun and serious with information that will improve your game." Thank you so much, Drunken Monk. He's also in our Twitch chat today.
Yep.
This is
Thank you for sparing me from a pun.
This is the best review I've ever read in my life.
Alrighty, let's get to the fun stuff. Bring on the cards. All right. So we have a document that we're going to go through. We're doing it a little bit different this might I call it season, this expansion. We're actually looking at the cards ahead of time because we can't just do what we did last time.
Nah.
So I'm going to, Appa, this is your section. Let's have you take the reins and I'll try and keep us on pace here.
Okay, well, I'm about to pass it off again because we're just going to round table all this anyways.
Yeah.
So we're just going to dive right into the spoilers, not waste much time. So first up, we have the Hunter card, the Hunter Death Knight, which is Deathstalker Rexar. It's a 6-mana hero card. Battle Cry deals 2 damage to all enemy minions. Gives you 5 armor. Then his hero power is Build-A-Beast, which is craft a custom Zombeast. And we talked about that 2 episodes ago, how that works.
Recently, yes.
So I have no idea. I'm not going to even try and predict how any of these Death Knight cards are going to work. I learned my lesson with the quests. They're just a new kind of card. I'm going to see how they play. But my initial impression is that this one's kind of weird to build around because the Battle Cry and like the armor gain kind of, I think, tricks you into thinking that it's like a control card. But I think you want to be like ahead on board when you like start creating beasts because you want to like create something like really difficult to deal with. And like you don't want them to have like board control or anything, but you also want to like live long enough to where you can essentially take a turn off to just play your Death Knight card. So it's kind of a weird card to evaluate for me because I think you want to be like controlling enough, which Hunter doesn't really have that many like control tools to get to turn 6 with a high enough life total to start abusing the hero power. But then you also like want to be on board already, so you can hero power every turn and like deploy that minion that you've created and like force them to deal with it. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, almost. Go ahead.
I will say there is kind of a boilerplate we got to staple on to all of these reviews. Is we've only seen like 30 cards, so there's still a lot more to go, and some of these class identities could get some pretty drastic upgrades. So it is difficult to evaluate these fully, but we're gonna kick around some ideas at the very least. Kenny.
I just see this as like the flip of a switch. Like you're going face, and then you focus more on dealing damage towards the minions and holding your board later in the game. That's how I see it. But again, like you were mentioning, it's so hard to review this early and not knowing all the cards. So I don't really want to spend too much time on it.
I'm not going to put any of my eggs in like any of the Death Knight basket.
Yeah.
Basically until the set comes out. Like I'm just not even going to try and review these because like I'm going to be wrong about most of them, I'm sure. Because I've never played with a Death Knight card before, because they haven't existed. So anybody who tells you that they know like how these cards are going to play is just going to be wrong most of the time. So
with that being said, and being prepared to be wrong, the thing that kind of concerns me is that this is a very slow progression for Hunter. Like you said, you spend turn 6 off more or less. You get a Consecrate out of the deal, which is something, and a little bit of life gain. But then your next turn is going to be crafting a beast, which you may or may not be able to play depending on which 2 random beasts you get on either side of the effect. And then you might not play that until the turn after that, and then it's not going to attack until the turn after that. So I mean, it's difficult for me to see exactly how this is really going to develop. Plus, you have to play a regular hunter deck for the first 5 turns minimum, because you got steady shot up until turn 6 at the very least.
So let's just kind of look at this in a complete vacuum. So let's just take Consecration. It's 4 mana.
Yep.
I mean, we like staple the 2 extra mana on it, and we gain 5 life. So like if that was a card in Hunter, just like 6 mana Consecration, gain 5. It's a little overcosted, but it's also not terrible because Hunter has no AoE, pretty much whatsoever. So I think that by itself would be like pretty close to seeing some play, like here or there, and then you just like tack on the hero power after that, and it seems fine.
Kat, what about you?
So I wanted to start with the Death Knights because this is by far the most marquee cards of the set, and also by far the hardest to evaluate because it hasn't existed before. It's a brand new card type. Not a spell, by the way. Counterspell will not stop this. It's not a minion. It's not like Jiraxis where Repentance has a problem. It's just a new card type, and this does a lot of things Hunter doesn't do, which is late game inevitability, AoE, and gaining life. Hunter doesn't do any of those things. So on the plus side, it gets to do new things. On the other hand, every other Hunter card in existence is built not doing those things in mind. Right? Hunter, as it stands, hasn't been built in a fashion where it needs to clear the enemy board, where it needs to gain the life, and where it needs to generate late game inevitability. And they've already had an ability to generate late game pressure. It's called Steady Shots, the hero power. It already does that, where when you're ahead a little bit and you keep clicking the button, you generally win. That's already how the game works. So you're making a slower version that deals bigger chunks of damage, but in a minion-based axis. You're clearing a board where the concept as it stands of doing something completely opposite to the class identity needs a lot of support, and so we're going to see, are there cards printed that in this set that will help Hunter do something really different? But the real comparison of this card is the other Hunter legendary, Savannah Highmane. In that, if you can play one of these 2 on 6, give me a really good reason why I shouldn't play Highmane over this. A really, really good reason. And I don't have it yet. I haven't played with it.
Yeah, you'd be playing with a different deck altogether.
Yes.
You know?
Polymorph.
Yeah.
Well, there's that.
Polymorph is the reason. Yeah, sure. But, like, every Hunter deck so far has played Highmane on 6. All of them, except for Yogg Load, and that was a special case. And
it's except, like, super low to the ground face Hunter.
Well, yeah, if you're killing him on turn 5, you don't need a 6-drop.
And I will say this, though, about it. The Build-A-Beast concept is literally infinite value. It's like Jiraxis without the dangerously low health total, and maybe without the same speed of minion generation, but it is literally like, I create ridiculous threats every turn for the rest of the game. So it's got that going for it. It's just a question of, can Hunter be built in such a way that it can survive that long? And at the moment, the answer is no, but we have more cards to see.
Speaking of, the next one.
All right.
Next up is Professor Putricide. It is a 4-mana 5/4 Hunter legendary. It says, after you play a secret, put a random Hunter secret into the battlefield. It says into the battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't that say onto? I don't know.
Semantics.
We're not here to talk about prepositions.
My only comments on this is I'm glad it's a legendary.
Yeah.
Only 1 copy.
It's it seems all right. Okay, at first glance, stat line is fine. It has the opportunity costs, or the opportunity not costs, but the opportunity to play things for free, which is good. But there's some timing issues that go along with it. Like, you're gonna want to have a secret in hand, like on turn 5, which can be kind of awkward. You're generally playing them earlier than that, especially if you're playing with Cloaked Huntress. So, like, I think there's some kind of like timing issues with where this guy fits on the curve versus where a Secret Hunter would generally play its secrets.
So you just want to have a Secret in hand on turn 4 because you're just going to curve Cloaked Huntress into this, right?
Do what now?
And then I'll ride my unicorn on my rainbow.
Right. Like having all these things in hand at the same time it's like getting the stars to align. If it happens, it's going to be amazing, but most of the time it's not. I think you're going to have
here, but yeah.
Like you're going to have either like Cloaked Huntress plus secrets, or this guy plus secrets, or your secrets and your Eagle Horn. So you'll have like a mix and match. So there's going to be I think it'll see experimentation and use for sure. I will say though that this guy plus Eagle Horn bow is real good.
Yeah, the opportunity cost on him is also very low because his body is just fine.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like Gentle Megasaur Adapt Nothing is still fine, and I've played that a lot lately. It's not ideal. It's not what you want to do, but a 4-mana 5 attack is a good threat, even if it has the 4 butt that gets traded with somewhat easily. It's Tomb Pillager got played all the time. And, you know, the coin is obviously insane. Tomb Pillager is better than this card. I don't mean to draw that comparison, but the stat line means that it attacks 6 times and your opponent dies. So that's what... 4-mana 5/4 is a lot better than 5-mana 6/5. It would be a mistake to compare this to Princess Hoo-Hoo Run.
It trades up into things. It is not that easy to kill. Hits your opponent. It just 5s them, which is important. It's just a repeatable lava burst to their head. I'm hoping it's not good because the effect is very strong.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
Alrighty, shall we go to a different class?
Yeah.
Yeah, so moving on, we're going to the mage cards. First up is Cold Wraith, which is the 3-mana 3/4. It has Battle Cry. If an enemy is frozen, draw a card. So this card looks reasonable. Spider Tank, just as a card, is fine. You're not like super excited about it, but if you're playing this in a deck and like the ability doesn't trigger, it's just play it as a 3-mana 3/4. Like I play Cabal Talon Priest all the time in turn 3. If I don't have like a minion on the board, I'm fine with it. So the body is fine. They're pushing Frost Mage pretty hard.
Yeah, a different type of freeze mage.
Yeah, not freeze, but frost.
This card, this card really signals to me that they're trying to make the freezing potion playable, because outside of Wild, there's no way to freeze something before you play this. And this and the 5-drop, that's a 7/7 if something's frozen. You want to play them like on that turn, like on curve. So it looks like you want to like couple that with the freezing potion. And if you do that with this card, I mean, it's whatever. You just cycle freezing potion basically.
And there's also the Demented Frost Caller, 4-mana 2/4. When you cast a spell, freeze an enemy, which could also see some experimentation along with this. Because, like you said, it's kind of hard to freeze stuff and keep it frozen long enough to actually benefit from Battle Cry. But if you can consistently freeze stuff, this is going to be a good card. But otherwise, it's just a Spider Tank.
Yeah. I also wanted to point something out because like Standard isn't the only format. I know a lot of our listeners also play Wild. This could spawn or help to spawn like a new form of aggressive mage, because Snow Choker is a fine card. That card's very annoying. It's kind of difficult to kill in turn 2. And if you curve Snow Choker into this dude, it's pretty gross.
True.
So.
And this says enemy, not minion.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. So I would not want to be a control warrior playing against this card ever. Or playing against Snow Choker ever. Man, that card was so annoying.
And you know, there's still other freeze effects in the game. There's like Glacial Shard, there's Frost Elemental. I mean, there are multiple vectors for freeze effects, so it's
there's a lot of different applications that this card like has, and it looks like they'll probably be pushing freeze effects a little bit, more fair freeze effects, I think we could say, instead of like Frost Nova and Blizzard and stuff.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can look out for like some more cool applications for that in the set, because it's
cool
that
applications.
was unintentional, but thank you. So it looks like they're trying to make the Frost Mage decks like a little better, because again, Shatter 2-mana destroy minion is 2-mana destroy minion is good. It's just like finding enough activators to like turn it on with reliability.
Right.
I
Yeah.
think we covered that card pretty
2
well.
mana destroy conditional minion is execute now. Obviously, it's easier to trigger execute. I don't mean to be pessimistic. I really hope Blizzard finds a way to make freezing minions fun, because historically it has been not super fun.
Yeah, me too.
So if they're able to find a way to individually freeze minions or freeze them in a flavorful way, or maybe you can thaw your minions or something, I think that'd be cool. But I really hope they avoid promoting a mechanic based around uninteractivity for the flavor.
You know, there's also Jaina, Jaina's hero card, and the one that has been seen, as far as we know, is fake. So don't go on that. Go on us not knowing what it is. But her new hero power could be a freeze effect. Could just be
Yeah.
like,
That'd
tap
be
hero
very
power,
interesting.
cast Frostbolt.
We'll see.
Or if your fireball changes to a frost, like it's a
make
ping
all your
still.
spells freeze. That'd be so cool, actually.
Frostball. It's
Yeah, frostball.
Oh man.
I'm not sure how it's gonna work. I
Yeah.
am certain. I trust Blizzard's playtesting. I just hope they find a way to make a historically unfun mechanic fun in appropriate application.
Yeah. All right, so moving on to the next card, we have Ghastly Conjurer. It's 4 mana, 2/6. Battlecry. Add a mirror image to your hand. Body's weak. Mirror image isn't awful. Those are the notes that I got here.
Yeah, I don't
we
care
agree.
for having. Yeah, or we can move on.
It's like, I wonder what would happen for this to see play. If it had taunt, I'd get it. But like,
We have Water Elemental already. It's just a better card, I think.
Yeah. I have seen some people, some respected brains in the community, saying that this card is nuts, and I don't see it. And
I've seen some respected brains in the community say quite a few things about some different cards, but we'll get to those later.
right.
Why I think they're like on something.
But sometimes I can see the reasoning, but I don't even see the reasoning. Like this, it's just a
Oh.
weak body and a weak spell.
Wolfpack in chat. Quest Mage.
I don't even see in Quest Mage. Like somebody tried to sell it to me on Quest Mage, and I'm like, if my quest is to cast spells I didn't include in my deck, I would play Babbling Book ahead of this, because I'd rather have a random spell than a mirror image. I will play Kabbalist Tome over this, because I would rather have 3 different spells rather than an irrelevant body and 1 terrible spell. Like I don't see it.
so
I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't see it.
you have to want the spell trigger. You have to have 5 mana. You have to have relevance out of the 2/6 body. If you meet all those conditions, this card is fine. It's. I wouldn't call this card bad. I would say there are consistently better cards you would play over it in every mage that I've seen.
There you go.
In a vacuum too. You never know. There could be something that mirror images, because I don't know. We may be completely wrong, and that would be something that we can't see later in the set, or who knows. It just seems not that great in a
It's
vacuum.
premature to like start calling cards bad right now,
Yeah.
especially since we're like seeing new mechanics and like things that just look odd.
Exactly.
Speaking of new mechanics and things that
There you
look
go.
odd, we have Syndragosa, which is the Mage Legendary. It's an 8 mana, 8/8 dragon. Battlecry, summon 2/0/1 Frozen Champions. And a Frozen Champion, say 1 mana 0/1, is Death Rattle. Add a random legendary minion to your hand. They do not have taunt, which is important. So you're going to have to like ping them off yourself as mage, which is fine. It's like 2 mana, get a legendary, which seems pretty solid.
Well, they're frozen in ice, so they're solid.
Oh my gosh! Wow, the WoW application playing against Syndragosa memories. Sorry.
So my initial thought was like maybe this could see play in the Medivh slot, in like the slower mage decks, but then again, I think Medivh is probably a little better, because like you get the immediate return while you're casting things and like just gaining the board back. I don't know. This card is it's
It may be
weird.
good.
It's cool. It's flavorful. I like it. It's a big old dragon.
Maybe something fun to throw down when you know they're wanting to to clear the board.
Yeah.
Could be.
AOE.
I think there's a couple of things that stand out to me, like stat wise, passes a vanilla test. 8 mana 8/8 is good. It's a good threat. The 2 frozen champions 0/1. There's no way to activate these guys aside from just pinging them with the hero power.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a delay for their death rattle to add legendary to your hand, because you're going to have to find a way for the opponent to do it for you, or for you to do it the turn after, or maybe if you do it on turn 10, you can pop one of them. On top of that, you don't know what it could be. Anything. You could get Laurel Walker Cho and Nat Pagel and regret everything. On the other hand, it's any random legendary, so it could be from another class. So there's like real big high roll potential with those frozen champions. But much like the hunter hero, there's some very long effects here, because you got to play Syndragosa, and then you got to pop the champion, which may or may not happen the same turn, may happen the next turn. Then you get the legendary in your hand. You probably have to play that the turn after, because you had to get some way to pop that champion, and then that card's not going to attack for another turn. So like the relevance of the frozen champions is very, very delayed. So that's why I don't think it's going to contest with Medivh for a slot. I think it's going to, if it ends up being built, I think people are going to build Dragon Mage into a thing.
It's going to go into like a grinder mage style.
Yeah.
Because it's like such long term, like the value on it is there. It's like gripping value. It's just like, it just takes so long.
The likelihood of Netherspite Historian getting this is also very high because it's the only class dragon, right?
58%.
Ooh, 58.
It's not bad.
That's not quite 3 out of 5, but pretty close.
Yeah, and if you have 2 of them, then you have 2 shots at it, which I think bumps it up to like somewhere in 70-ish% range.
So you want to play this in a minion-based long game mage as opposed to a spell-based, which is Medivh, right? It's
right.
Yeah, just minions versus spells, and spells have historically been better because they're class cards and they're generally pretty good, and they're both resilient to board clears, right? Because one, you clear Medivh and you just play a Firelands Portal and you're back in the game, and here if you board clear you get 2 random legendaries. Yeah, this is definitely, if you want to go minion-based long game mage, then this is the answer. Like you guys were talking about with Grinder Mage, I wish Twilight Guardian was still in Standard, because then Dragon Mage would be a thing. But in Wild, it could still be a thing. It's just Wild has more degenerate mage decks.
All right, shall we keep moving? I know Appa has some classes he really wants to talk about. Not necessarily the next one here, but...
Yeah, so Paladin, we have Chillblade Champion. 4 mana, 3/2 with charge and lifesteal. It's a very straightforward card, but I also think it's like secretly more powerful than it appears, because lifesteal is just a very powerful mechanic. Especially in Hearthstone, where you can't block, and like there's no like trading attacks. It's all direct attacking, and you can't like block damage wherever you want. Like getting damage on, or getting life like on command, and potentially like removing something at the same time is important. It's very powerful, but the problem with this card is like, even though it seems, I think it's pretty decent, Paladin, all its best cards are just 4. They all cost 4.
Yeah.
Like you have Consecration, True Silver Champion, Blessing of Kings. Pick a good card in Paladin, probably cost 4 mana. So this is gonna like have a hard time finding a home, but it's a tool for like later formats and later sets, and I think it's pretty reasonable.
It's a good buff Paladin. Like it gets, I don't know.
It's like a powered down Kor'kron Elite. It's like how I think of it. Like comes on the board and like either hits them and starts like just pressuring them, or trades off with something, gains you 3 life, which is fine. You're okay with that. Like Kor'kron either comes down like value trades. Kor'kron's obviously, well, not obviously. I think Kor'kron's a better card, but just like for the sake of comparison, I think it's like the closest thing we have to this.
Okay, so in Wild, on turn 10, after an Emperor Thor's tick, you play this in Dino Size.
Yeah, buddy.
Deal 10, gain 10.
Yeah. So, like, from an objective evaluation, like, problems with the texture of Paladin class cards aside, like, this guy's probably gonna both deal 6 and heal 6 just by being played. Because charge lifesteal, ideally you just hit the face, you get 3, you deal 3, and then your opponent is almost certainly not going to want to expend removal on this. I would think that most people just want to trade it off, which again will deal 3, heal 3. So like being able to, for a 4 mana to over time deal 6 and heal 6 is a decent outcome. I that's not bad at all. But it is an aggressive card, and I don't know where it fits into Paladin just yet without seeing the rest of their class cards.
Cool.
I don't see a world where I play this over True Silver, but I hope I'm wrong. Just because True Silver is the being a minion that letting your opponent dictate how the damage gets dealt, it makes it worse than a weapon, right? Weapons have historically been strong because you get to control the charges and where they go.
You get to kill stuff with tempo and
Yeah.
have developed another removal spell for the next turn, basically.
Yes.
So this would need to like see play in like semi-aggressive strategy, like minion based, but like right now we have Murlocs, so like that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a weird card because it's like I think it like checks off all the boxes to like be playable, but like the environment just doesn't seem friendly to it.
All right.
Yes.
So moving on to Priest, we have Spirit Lash. It's a 2-mana spell, lifesteal, deal 1 damage to all minions. What do you guys think?
I think that's a good card.
I think I like this. But like so early game it's a whirlwind for 2, right? You might gain a little bit of life. It's nice to if they go Nizas first main deckhand, right? And you take 4 and then you gain 3 back. Like that's pretty cool. Unlikely, best case scenario. Late game I think you're more likely to gain more life, but it's less likely to matter. I don't know.
So, answering me this question, is Maelstrom Portal a good card?
These are not close to the same thing.
They are not, but Maelstrom Portal sees use. The dealing a 1 damage AoE on turn 2 is relevant, and spell power is a thing. And
Especially
let me stop you right there.
all right, stop me right there.
Spell power does not see play in Priest, and it shouldn't see play in Priest. And I don't think Spirit Lash will cause it to see play because like you don't want to be playing like Blood Mage Thalnos in Priest really. Like it's not very good. And then you don't have like the hero power totem. You saw Arcane Explosion played for like a day in Mage because you had Cult Sorcery plus Thalnos plus Azure Drake, and Spirit Shaman was the best deck. You had to be able to deal 2. And this is an Arcane Explosion with almost no possibility for getting spell power because you're just making like your deck worse if you're putting Thalnos in it, in my opinion. Could be wrong. And then like the opportunity cost Maelstrom Portal is just non-existent if you have it in your deck. So you can like either use it as an AoE or you can just play it. And I'll just like ping something, then you'll just get a dinky 1 cost minion. Whereas like opportunity cost of this being your deck is super high because it's just like a dead card. If you either don't have a spell power card you put in your deck, or you're not playing against something with like 1 toughness minions. So I don't think this card's actually that great. I also like don't have that much trouble early game as Priest because like we had Potion of Madness and we have like early cards that are just like really gross.
Is it going to replace Potion of Madness? No, probably not. So
but it is a tool. Like if we do see like some Priest spell power cards, I think this could definitely go in decks. But like I think like with the cards that we have right now, it needs like some extra help to see some play, you know?
Well, and Priest hasn't had damage-based removal that it's used in, like, outside of Holy Nova ever. And this is a much, much smaller Holy Nova.
Dragonfire Potion, obviously.
Well, it's okay.
Light Bomb technically did damage.
Those are
Light Bomb did damage.
These are different. Like 6 mana wipe the board versus 2 mana like touch the board a little bit. Is Holy Nova would be the comparison here, and Holy Nova has a dramatically different effect in that 2 damage AOE is historically a lot better than 1 damage AOE, and also healing your own minions is typically better than damaging your own minions. Not always, but typically. So, I don't know. It remains to be seen. This is a different direction than what Priest usually goes in. There'd have to be a lot of really wide boards, and Shadowward Horror would have to not be good enough at dealing with them.
It's another spell to be played with all those cards that get like Lyra or whatever her name is, and the 2/3s that minimize your spell. It also thins out your spells that you'll be receiving from everything too.
Yeah, Shadow Vision's a good point.
Yep. So that's all I'm going to say. We want to move on?
Yeah, let's move on.
So
Right.
Rogue got a couple cool cards. One of them is kind of a newer,
Very interesting.
I guess, mechanic. It's a 2-mana spell. It's called Vampiric Poison. So we're like starting to see like more poisons for Rogue, which is kind of what they do. Poison their weapon and they stab people.
I like that.
And Vampiric Poison just says give your weapon lifesteal, which is something that Rogue has always really wanted, is just gain life because they use their weapon to trade a lot.
I'm not going to disagree they've really wanted, but is this really what we wanted? Is this it?
Yeah.
No, not really.
No.
I
There,
don't think so.
there has to.
I like the idea of it.
Yeah, the idea is fine. The issue is that this card must be paired with something else to realize any value, because otherwise it's 2 mana heal 2 off of the hero power, which is real bad.
We got like 100+ cards left to spoil, so
yeah, there's probably there's
like
there's probably
saying
weapons.
this is bad right now is just like getting ahead of yourself for
Yeah,
basically no reason.
There's like the Obsidian Shard, which has not yet seen play.
The old pirate rogue.
There is Assassin's Blade, right? And at that point, this is 2 mana gain 12. But
Also, does it? Okay, so this is gonna sound stupid or silly or whatever, but this working with Blade Flurry is actually like pretty important to know.
It
Because-
does not work. With
I don't
Blade
think it would
Flurry.
work like that. Just like the poison
yeah,
doesn't
and Venom
work.
Weapon doesn't work with that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think Blade Flurry is the one dealing the damage.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
It's well, I mean, it retroactively makes sense because we know the interaction. We can use the logic to figure out what would happen. It would totally also make sense for a poisoned weapon to break up and everyone gets killed with the poison shards. But it didn't work out that way because of game mechanics. There could be a world where this works. I think this is a way for Blizzard to give Rogue life gain without making it a part of their class identity. Because if you give Rogue a really good life gain card, it would be dangerous. I agree the concept is interesting. The execution means that either there is more support for this card or this card is meant to be not good, and I'm not sure which it is, and I'm fine with either.
Or they're just pulling out the crystal ball and looking into the future.
Yeah.
And it is worth saying too, this is a spell, so it can be prepped, it can be put into a Gadget Sand combo. It's something to think about. So if weapons become more relevant for Rogue, then yeah, this will need to be looked at.
I want to get to this next one because I love the art for it.
So next one is Plague Scientist. It is a 3-mana 2/3 with combo. Give a friendly minion poisonous.
Ugh,
Yeah. I like this guy.
I do like him.
I think that in a world where Firefly is probably the most played card from Ungoro, that a poisonous flame elemental will do a lot of work. And it's not a huge threat by itself, but it's a mini Vilespine. And if you care a lot about mana and you have a wide, small board and taunts are a big deal to you, this is an efficient way to get through that.
Also, this does work with Wild Pyromancer the way you think it does.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh,
It's clunky, but you could set up some pretty wide board applications.
but wouldn't it kill itself then?
Yes.
Yeah, it would
It's
be
like
a
an
full board clear. It'd be two
Yeah.
two card.
It'd be like a
Well, I
quality
guess
consecrate, you know?
3 card.
Yeah.
3 card. Yeah, it'd be a 3 card full board clear, which is it's a little awkward, but Rogue historically has not had access
Well,
to any
unless
board
it,
clears.
unless it's turn 5.
Yeah,
It
you
could just
play the
be like an
pyromancer
equality
and then you play
consecrate
the
thing,
scientist.
or
Yeah.
a quality pyro. So that's like not terrible. We've already had we have 2 card combos of board clear all the time because we don't have solid board clears in Hearthstone. They just don't really exist.
And Rogue does not have any AoE, so
So this might actually, like this, like the lifesteal thing, kind of hint at like a subtle control, like a door that's opening a little bit,
yeah.
which would be awesome because I want to play a control rogue deck. I love control decks in Hearthstone. I want to play rogue control deck.
Controgue.
Control.
And
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure this would also work with Knife Juggler too, and that's
Yes.
just not just a neat application, but neat thematically because you're poisoning his daggers.
His daggers, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that what is interesting about this set so far is that it is probably the hardest to evaluate set I've ever seen from this game, in that the power level of the cards seem to be pretty generally in line and really complex and different in a lot of class identities than what we've seen before. So you'll notice we're shying away from bold predictions because there aren't any to make without context. Context is super duper important with this set because a lot of the classes are trying to do things they haven't done before, and we can't just jump to snap conclusions about that.
So based off of what you just said, they're doing exactly what the set is for. Like they're creating the Death Knight hero, like a different feel for the classes. It seems like completely.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I like
seems
it.
to be going that direction. Yeah.
Shall we move on to Shaman?
Oh, before we jump into Shaman,
Ooh.
our diligent listeners listening in the chat made us aware of a card that was revealed over in the Asian side of the world. It is a hunter card. It is Bear Shark, 3 mana, 4 attack, 3 damage, or 3 health. Cannot be targeted by spells or hero powers.
And it is a beast.
Yep.
And it is a beast.
I put it all the way
Although-
at the bottom of our card reveal document,
I mean-
and I
oh,
have the
did
card
you?
art up, and it is
Oh, my
it is
bad.
a bear with the head of a shark.
It is in fact a
just
bear
like
shark.
that.
Yes.
So do we want to hop on over to Shaman and then get to that one a little bit later?
Yeah.
Just let that one stew in the back
I
of our
mean,
minds.
Alright.
initial evaluation: a bear with the head of a shark is awesome. End of review.
All right, so Shaman. These are actually some cards that I'm pretty excited about. So first up, we have Icebreaker. It's a 3 mana weapon. It's a 1 attack, 3 durability weapon. It says destroy any frozen minion damaged by this. So
Wait a minute. This is not for.
This is
This
Shaman.
is not for. Oh, this is Shaman.
This
Shaman.
is for Shaman. Yes.
More freezing. All right. Go ahead. Continue. Sorry.
All right. So what are your impressions?
I suspect that we are going to see more freeze effects for Shaman to come. In fact, the next card is one. Voodoo Hexer, 5 mana, 2/7, taunt and freeze any character damaged by this minion. So it's like a water elemental with slightly different stats and taunt. And I think the taunt
It
is really relevant.
It's the Armor Smith stats with the water elemental effect.
There you go.
So are we jumping ahead to Voodoo Hexer? Because I love Voodoo Hexer.
I mean, I think we need to talk about them both at the same
Yeah.
time.
I think we can put both of them together, honestly.
I mean, Voodoo Hexer, that butt strength. It's a 7 butt, and like
7's important.
it's and you think about if you're a pirate warrior and you have an Arcanite Reaper and they play this guy, you just kind of like heavily sigh, hang.
Oh
your
yeah,
head.
you're probably packing that one in.
Yeah, you just go home.
But
you just go.
You
home.
also have to think about the games where you're playing Taunt Warrior
Yeah.
and you're playing against like mid Paladin and you play an Armor Smith and they're just like, okay, value trade into it. That did nothing.
But
and, like,
it's-
This one still like freezes stuff, which is nice.
Yeah, it slows them down a little bit. I think this
Yeah.
card compares equally or potentially favorably to Ally Armorsmith, and Ally Armorsmith is seeing a good amount of play.
Yeah, me too. I think in Shaman, the freeze is more valuable than the armor gain that an Ally Armorsmith would give you. I think this card's pretty decent, if not like just good outright. And it's also worth noting that Shaman's 5-slot for minions is non-existent. You have like Halaziel, you have Earth Elemental, which is not a 5-drop. That's a control Shaman card, and like basically nothing else. And then you have, what else do you have? You have Twilight Hammer, Volcano.
White Eyes.
You have White Eyes.
White Eyes.
So like Shaman is severely lacking at the 5-drop slot, and this is like a very solid minion. Which also brings me back to Icebreaker. So if we still had Azure Drake, I would still be playing with Spirit Claws, because that card's still fine at 2 mana. Like, even without spell power triggered, it's like okay. It's not terrible, because dealing 1 damage as Shaman is pretty important, just to be able to like pick off little guys and help perform value trades, or like help your minions trade up a little bit. And Icebreaker also does that. It is 1 more mana, which is big, but being able to freeze something, like we just saw Voodoo Hexer is going to freeze something. We also have 2 cards that freeze on command that also have the elemental tag, which I think Shaman has the best elemental cards when they're enabled. We have Glacial Shard and Frost Elemental, which are not bad cards in their own right. And then if like you manage to draw an Icebreaker plus the elemental card that freezes, then you just like get a lot of value from that. And then if you don't draw the freeze card, then you just pick off little minions with Icebreaker.
And Frost Shock also is a card that gets forgotten about a lot.
We're gonna have to see some like pretty hardcore like Shaman freeze stuff. Like you're gonna have to have cards with massive payoffs to ever see Frost Shock.
Oh yeah, I'm not advocating for anybody to run Frost Shock, but
it's there. It's class card and it does exist, but
yeah,
we don't speak of him.
Yeah. So like the comparison to the Alley Armorsmith is important only for the stats, I think, because thinking about it from the Taunt Warrior perspective, how often do they just trade 2 things into Armorsmith? Those things stay on the board, and you healed 4. Like, you delayed the game for maybe a turn at most, and maybe didn't have any impact on the board. The Voodoo Hexer...
Yeah, in the same scenario, if you replace that with Voodoo Hexer, then you just buy yourself a complete turn to develop whatever you want. They just can't do anything with those minions.
At minimum, if this is combined with the weapon Icebreaker, you actually completely slow down the clock. You know, the Voodoo Hexer is going to probably freeze 1 or 2 minions just by virtue of its taunt, and then you can follow it up with hard removal with the Icebreaker. So I mean, this is I see an archetype developing out of this stuff, because 3 charges of hard removal, that's a big deal. Like, even if you take some face damage, it's a big deal.
So a note that I wrote down is I think this card is a solid weapon if you can pick off something small and then just like kill something big. Like, I think you've gotten the value out of it, because it's a 3 mana removal spell, like plus killing a small minion. And then if in that scenario, if you've like killed something in the mid game that you were able to freeze, that was like 3-4 mana up, I think it's gotten its value. And then like anything past that just like makes it great.
Yeah, like sorry, Kenny, this will be my last comment.
Sorry.
If you had a Shaman spell that said destroy a minion, take its attack power as damage for 3 mana, that would be a good card, I would think. And this does that potentially 3 times. So I think it's pretty good. Seems good.
We're a little over halfway, and we have a lot. We even have neutral to go over too. So
my bad.
We got a little bit
No.
more. I want to add stuff because I can. I think it's important. I'm curious about Icebreaker. I'm wary about it because I think it compares to Envenom Weapon, and that didn't see play. Shaman is a different class, right? It has healing, it has better defensive options, but
yes,
you don't want like 3 mana kill 2 things with the weapon it's a trap And I'm not saying that Icebreaker won't work. I'm saying that we have seen similar effects before, not in Shaman. And I'm curious about where that goes. I think it's also important to note that Voodoo Hexer has really big hands.
I think Voodoo Hexer looks very good so far. I think Icebreaker is very close to being playable.
Yeah, I could see a world where it sees play. It's just I could also see a world in which it looks really good and valuable on paper, and then it doesn't see play. But
Yep.
to not talk about that, we actually have to talk about the Blood Queen, which might take the rest of the podcast.
God. So, Blood Queen Lanathel is a 5-mana 1/6 with lifesteal for Warlock, and it has +1 attack for each card you've discarded this game. I'll let you guys go.
So like I have played a decent amount of Warlock recently, including discard, like mid-range discard variants. And if I got her to a 4/6, a 5-mana 4/6 with lifesteal, probably would not play her. Just because there's significant risk in that, one, she might not get her attack very high, and two, she might get discarded anyway. And like a 5-mana 4/6 that heals, that's a Darkshire Alchemist. It's to me that does not seem great.
That is much better than a Darkshire Alchemist.
Because I realize that the lifesteal can be repetitive, but removal is a thing, and so are value trades.
Okay, so like the removal is a thing, just like it's not an argument. If like the removal is a thing, like just killing this, that means the card's good. If you're scared of it getting removed, because like it's a lightning rod, like they have to kill it. So like, if they're gonna have to kill this, like it's valuable. If it keeps hitting them and keeps gaining life, it's valuable there. Like lifesteal's worth at least 1 mana, especially in Warlock. I think it's worth more than 1 mana.
Quick question, and I think I may be thinking of this differently. Lifesteal goes for that minion itself, or for the hero? Like the hero gets lifesteal. Like
you get your hero heals the damage that the card
deals. Okay, so it's not healing itself when it attacks.
No,
okay.
It heals your hero's face.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead. I think it's good to ask in case somebody may be thinking the same thing I do. So I figured I should ask it.
Do you guys want to say anything else? Because I'm gonna go off on like a while here.
Okay, go for it. Unless Hat, you want to throw in before he goes off?
Hat, you want to put in
Yes.
2 cents?
I'm going to say this is the hardest card to evaluate in the set so far, and it is the hardest card to evaluate without context. If this were printed right now as a 1-card set, I don't know if it would be enough to revive Disco Lock, but we're not talking about that. And I have no idea where it's going from this because it is incredibly difficult to evaluate.
All right, so everybody listening right now, I want you to take a step back. Warlock is garbage right now. That's just a fact. It's not good. That's fine. That doesn't mean this card's bad. The 4-mana 3/8 with Taunt, we talked about this like last episode. The card that got Lakari Fellhound is a very strong card. We got our predictions pretty much right. Doesn't like revive or make the discard Warlock class good, but is a strong card. This is my argument for this card. This card's very strong. Back to the removal thing, because like I know that's going to be an argument that like a lot of people are going to think about instantly. It's like, what if it gets removed? What if it doesn't get its attack in? Then they traded the removal spell for this. That's going to happen. If it doesn't, then it's going to hit them for X amount of life and then gain you life, which is what Warlock wants. It also wants a scaling threat, which this is. I'm sure this isn't going to get very high in terms of attack because like you're going to be discarding a lot of your resources and then life tapping later, and then like you only discard probably 1 card per turn in like a like best case scenario. But so lifesteal is worth at least 1 mana, and in Warlock I think it's worth more than that, like between 1 and 2 probably. So if we like tick off 1 mana off this card and say it costs 4, just like without lifesteal, all it has to do is get up to a 3/6. You have to discard 2 cards and then like just play this, and then it's fine. Which like you discard 2 cards all the time in Warlock, like Soulfire, stupid Librarian, the Lakari Fellhound, Sure, you can discard this card. That's a risk. That's a risk you play with the discard theme in Warlock. But you can also just draw this later on. That is just very good. All it has to do is be a 3/6, and then it's pretty much just on curve, like with its ability and its stats. And then anything past that is just nuts. Like it has to be killed, and then like if they trade into it, it's gonna gain life a bunch of times for you, which is what you want. Like it's gonna be a removal spell at that point, with like whatever they trade into it theoretically, unless it's like super big, and then it's gonna gain you life, and like it's just a scaling threat for the Warlock class. And the discard like theme, and we talked about this last episode too, is like the discard theme is not an aggressive theme. Like the cards that have been printed are just pretty much like mid-range cards that like kind of go into like a little bit of control, but they're mostly like mid and late mid-game cards. And like this just fits that perfectly. Like this is what Warlock wants to do, all in a card. And if this was printed right now, I would put this in every one of my Warlock decks. It like the card itself is fine. It's for sure not enough to like revive Warlock by itself, but I think we're gonna get some support, and I think this card's very powerful.
Okay, so listening to you talk about it, I'm gonna say this: like I am falling into the trap of thinking about this card being played on curve. Like if you played this on turn 5, then the chances of it getting an appreciable attack value are not great. But you don't always play the cards on curve. In fact, that rarely happens.
Yeah, like
unless you're playing an
games are
aggressive
just
deck.
messy. Like they're not like they don't go according to plan all the time.
Like she might get played on turn 13 and have 10 attack. At that point, you're like, "Woo! All right, now we're talking." So I think that needs to be considered as far as card evaluations. And then just in general, just as people are thinking about this, everybody immediately says Disco Lock. Do not think of Disco Lock as the old zoo archetype, because there is already a legitimate mid-range discard build because of Lucari Fellhound. And
it's like a pseudo handlock deck with like a discard theme that just like plays into the mid game and just like plays just big fat dudes.
Exactly. So that's the kind of archetype that Lanathel would actually fit into, not into a zoo deck. So you got to think. I think you have to think of her in that context rather than what decks we have already seen in the past.
Yeah, I just wanted to like kind of spit everything out all at once, because I've seen like a lot of people just like either fall into traps of thinking or being like, this isn't good in zoo, like why would I play this? Just like a lot of different things, and I just wanted to spit everything out because it's way more than 140 characters would allow.
Also,
here's a bunch of like little points to make on it.
Here's a really important thing to consider as well. Is her attack value stuck when she's played, or does it escalate?
She scales.
See, that's important too.
Yeah,
because that makes a big difference.
Playing the discard cards after this makes this way less likely to get discarded. And Hockey Boys in our chat is saying, play this on 5, play Doomguard on 6, and I threw up in my mouth a little bit, because that's just, it's just disgusting. And you think about it, there's going to be a certain point as well where there is a critical mass of not zoo cards, but discard cards. We have Zavas, Silver War Golem, this one, Lucari Fellhound, and Librarian are all good value-based discard cards.
We also have the 6-mana 5/5 that hasn't seen a lot of play.
Cruel Dynamancer, baby.
Yeah, Cruel Dynamancer is actually like good when you get it to work. It's just like the shell right now is just like hard to get to work.
It needs lifesteal. Like Warlock needs lifesteal as a regular mechanic, and so yes, Lanathel's probably going in that direction. But yeah, like the Cruel Dynamancer is actually quite good.
Yeah, so like this card hits like all of the little check marks that you want to like see a card played. It's just like it's not very it's just an efficient card. It's not very flashy, and I think the fact that it's legendary is putting a lot of people off, honestly, because we're used to seeing legendaries being like, oh, these cards are just like either just super bad and like really fun to play for fun, or they're just really disgusting. And this card is like a really nice middle ground, I think. It's just like a very solid card.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see how it actually plays out because I have no idea. None whatsoever. Like it's you make a lot of great points, but also card games are hard to evaluate, and most
Yeah.
people get most cards wrong, and I trust you more than I trust most people, but I'm still just really curious about how this plays out.
Yeah, I've just like thought about this one a lot, and I feel very strongly about this one. I'm totally willing to be wrong on it, but I'm going out on a limb for this one. Like, if it was printed right now, I'd play it. It wouldn't be enough to like bring Warlock, like mid-range discard Warlock into even tier 4 probably, but like you'd still play it in the deck, and I still think it would be fine. But let's move on from Warlock, because I've ranted enough. And you guys need to learn me about this Blood Razor.
Okay.
So, we're getting into Warrior. Blood Razor is a 4-mana weapon. 2 attack, 2 durability. Battle Cry and Death Rattle deal 1 damage to all minions. So it has Whirlwind when you Battle Cry, and when it Death Rattles, and it's a 2/2 for 4. So
Warrior.
y'all can take the lead on this one.
All right. So, as of right now, slow warrior builds already play double whirlwind or single whirlwind and double ghoul. So having access to a lot of whirlwind effects is pretty important. And one card gives you the opportunity to have 2 of them on demand. You can have one immediate. You can have one right away, and then one for later, whenever you want. And you can spend those card slots on something else. And it being 4 mana doesn't shy me away, because this is something that you'd see more in like Taunt or Control Warrior, probably more a Control Warrior build. And a 4 attack out of 4 mana, on top of everything else is okay. Like 2 mana is certainly relevant as a weapon. It's the mana cost is tied into the whirlwind effects on top of the weapon damage, though. But I think it's fine. I think it's definitely worth trying out as a replacement for other whirlwind effects. Not for Ghoul. Ghoul's too good, but like
Ghoul is it just literally tacks on a free Whirlwind.
right, yeah. So like I could see this card replacing Whirlwind in those builds, because Whirlwind by itself as a card is not great, but it's necessary. So I think Blood Razor has a place.
So Blood Razor. So I'm gonna talk for a bit. So Blood Razor has a lot of comparisons you can make. I think the wrong comparison is Deathbite. First of all, this card is worse than Deathbite. Second of all, that's okay. Deathbite was stupid. It was really good, way too good. Don't compare cards to Deathbite. It's a bad idea. If a card ever compares favorably to Deathbite, it's a mistake. So there are other cards that are worth comparing it to. Consecration comes up a lot. I think that's not an unreasonable comparison. This is
like a little bit of a delayed Consecration.
Yeah, it's a little slower, and it hits your own stuff, and it deals you damage, and it can be played around a little bit more. So like, fine. I think its 2 swipes is getting closer, except the swipes deal 3 instead of 4, and that's when it starts to look really appealing. And I don't agree with Cinder on that this is the best in a control card. I think this is good in a tempo warrior where...
Oh, I would agree with that.
Yeah, so you wanna catch up on the board for sure. And you want to whirlwind your own minions on 4 after a Frothing or an Acolyte. And historically, Warrior has gotten a lot of good usage out of Whirlwinds tacked onto other cards, and has also really loved having a second weapon after War Axe. So I think this just checks a lot of boxes. And so if AoE matters to you, this is a fantastic AoE card, because you get to deal 1 damage twice. Not 2 damage, 1 damage twice when you want to. If you're against a deck that goes big instead of goes wide, it's not very good. Neither is Ravaging Ghoul in those situations. They're both execute activators. Ravaging Ghoul is probably better because it's a 3/3 body instead of 2 damage twice. But Ravaging Ghoul without the Whirlwind is terrible. It's a 3-mana 3/3. Blood Razor without the Whirlwinds, again, same thing. It's a 4-mana 2/2 weapon. It's worse than Tentacles for arms. But you're playing it for the Whirlwind in addition to an effect that otherwise you wouldn't want. The Whirlwinds themselves have so much value in Warrior, especially on 4 after Frothing or Acolyte. And especially in addition to Battle Rage and
Armor Smith.
Armor Smith. And you think about the effects that are seeing play right now. Volcanic Potion, Primordial Drake, and Consecration are all super duper good, as is Maelstrom Portal. This is not any one of those particularly, but it's really strong.
Do you guys remember a card called Grimoire Hellscream?
Yeah, buddy.
I haven't seen that dude in a while.
I've heard of him.
He's the pure control decks that are out there still running him. The only thing that I think shies me away from like hard categorizing this as a tempo card is just that it's 4 mana, and there as tempo warriors want to do other stuff with 4 mana, namely Kor'kron Elite and maybe this next guy. So, but otherwise, yeah, I would agree. It's a good tempo. It's a good tempo effect. I just don't know if it fits into the deck.
So my can't think of the word for it, but reservations. There it is. My reservations with this card is I was thinking about it as more of like 4 mana double War Axe with like Whirlwind tacked on, for like an extra mana in terms of like just cost efficiency. But thinking about it as like double swipe is better, I think. The reservation I have with this card is the power that came from like Deathbite as a weapon on 4. I'm not trying to compare this to Deathbite,
Don't
but
do
they
it.
are both weapons that you play on 4.
Yeah.
And a lot of Deathbite's power didn't come from the Whirlwind effect. It did come from the Whirlwind effect, but initially, like first and foremost, it was the ability to play on turn 4 and kill something with tempo, like the True Silver Champion. So the Whirlwind effects have to be fair, like the whirlwinds that you get from Blood Razor have to like make up for the fact that you're taking a hit on tempo when you play this card. Basically, that's what I'm trying to say.
Agreed.
So I like the best case scenarios with this card look fantastic, like against some Murlocs or like Token Druid or Pirate Warrior or something. Like it looks great, but there's also a ton of decks out there that like aren't small, and against them, like that's kind of where I'm like kind of having my reservations about this card. Is like there's a lot of decks that like run big dudes. Like this does not kill medium-sized or big dudes. It kills a bunch of small dudes, which is good. But Warrior's also already really good at killing a bunch of small dudes.
But that's where the Whirlwind becomes super relevant because it becomes a card draw activator. In combination both with Acolyte and Battle Rage. Yeah. Like it definitely has all the applications that Whirlwind has, but it's also a weapon.
So I disagree with Hat, and I'm putting this one as the hardest to evaluate for the set.
Yeah. Okay. That's a reasonable disagreement. I mean, this is
because it's just like it's so new, and like we haven't had we've had similar effects, but like I feel like this one's just like on the fence of either being great or like not being good enough, you know?
I think you said that Warriors had an easy time clearing small minions, but part of it's because they play cards like this, right? Like, if you take the Whirlwinds out of Warrior, it doesn't have an easy time clearing small minions anymore. And so I think any deck that's playing the card Whirlwind right now, I put this in instead, and I'm much happier. Any card that doesn't play the card Whirlwind right now, but wants some kind of way to control the board and apply pressure and remove specific threats, will want this card. Tempo Warrior just screams out to me like, please put Blood Razor in. I don't know. I have hope for this card. Again, there are worlds where this card is bad. A decent number of worlds. But I think in the world we have right now, if you threw this card in, it would do very well. And that's a trap in evaluating cards, because everything changes when you drop 130 new cards in. But this is in line with historical cards that Warrior has found to be good, which is you take a mediocre thing and you slap on a Whirlwind or two, and it's all of a sudden it's broken.
Yeah, I agree there. Like if this were to be printed like right now, just add it into the game. Taunt Warrior plays 2 Whirlwinds a lot of the time and has very few 4-drops. So this could very easily just slot in there. But again, we do have a bunch of cards to see. And this card has tremendous upside and also pretty big downside too. So it's
almost like it was well designed or something.
Weird.
Yeah. So next card is a 3-mana 4/3. It's called Mountain Fire Armor. As Death Rattle, if it's your opponent's turn, gain 6 armor.
So my first reaction to this card was, this is really cool because it's a threat they don't want to kill. But I've cooled on it a lot. It's
You've cooled on the Mountain Fire armor?
yeah, it's Appa. I'm so proud of you. It's so the point of this card, the thought of this card everyone has is either I play this as a threat against a control deck, or I play this as board control against an aggro deck, and they're not going to kill it. Now, there's a couple flaws in that thinking. First of all, if you play this against Pirate Warrior, they just ignore it and go face, then you value trade with your 3-mana 4/3, it dies in 2 turns, you don't gain the armor. It's just like
and value trading against Pirate Warrior is not what you want to do.
Exactly. So against a Pirate Warrior, it might be okay against something like Murloc Paladin or something like Aggro Druid, where their minions are a little bit bigger and there aren't quite as many of them and they don't have as much burst. Like if you want to kill a War Leader or a 4/4 Rockpool Hunter or something, then sure, you get to trade this in, but you don't gain the armor. And so unless you play this card and your opponent has to trade into it, you're not getting the armor, at which point it is a vanilla 3-mana 4/3, at which point it is unplayable. So against a control deck, you can play it as a Tempo Warrior and go face with it, right? And 4 attack for 3 mana that they don't want to kill is reasonable, but if they're a control deck, they don't care about you having 6 extra life because...
Yeah, like if you're Tempo Warrior, and say you're playing against Control Paladin, you're like, alright, haha, I got this 4/3, and they're like, okay, kill it, have 6. I don't care.
It's fine. Like, it's
like, sure, you got 6 armor. I'm gonna kill you, like, when you have no minions and no cards in your hand. Like, this armor does not matter.
So, unless you're playing this with Argus, it's not good. If you Argus it against an aggro deck, it's pretty good. But that just means Defender of Argus is a good card.
So the only note that I have written here, which I think can pretty much open and close a conversation on this card, is in card games, giving your opponent a choice to either make a card like good or bad in any given scenario is not good. Like in almost every instance, giving your opponent a choice is not good.
Because
Like,
they're going to choose the thing that benefits them and not you.
This card, I'm gonna drop a Magic reference real quick. Reminds me a lot of a card called Vexing Devil in Magic. It's a 1-mana 4/3. It said your opponent can either take 4 life, and you sacrifice this, and if they don't take 4 life, you just get the 4/3. And this card almost never saw play, even though the body was nuts for the mana cost, because they just chose whatever was best for them, and that's what they get to do with Mountain Fire Armor. They just choose whatever's best for them. Like, this wants to go in, like, a tempo-oriented deck, kind of. And if it goes in a control deck, like, just ignore it. You'll value trade, and then you won't get the armor, which just doesn't matter. You don't want this in your deck, then.
Yeah.
And then, like, in a tempo-oriented deck, you don't want the 6 armor, so it's, like, it's just all over the place. But it's definitely a cool card.
Yeah. When I first saw it, I didn't read it fully, and I thought it was just Death Rattle gain 6, which would actually be pretty good.
Yeah, that card would be dope.
But the fact that your opponent can just play around it just kind of makes it meh. I think it's gonna be tough to really find a place. I think
it is a neat design for sure.
I think it's
very well balanced design.
Yeah, I like it a lot. It's just I don't know that it fits anywhere right now.
We're being very diplomatic about saying this card sucks, but we like it.
It may suck.
Yeah, well, it's not context, blah, 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 100 cards left. I was trying to be funny. Work with me.
Well, how about you talk about the next card and bring it on?
I will bring it on.
Yeah, buddy.
Which is also, by the way, great movie if you haven't seen it. So, bring it on.
We're going to fight.
It's after the stream. That's the bonus comment where immediately after the podcast I'll say, what's your problem with Bring It On? So, okay. The card, 2 mana, Epic, Warrior, gain 10 armor, reduce the cost of minions in your opponent's hand by 2. So I'm going to do the Appa thing and defer this before I talk about it.
Alright, well, I got pretty solid list of notes here, so Cinder, you go first.
I think it has
Just pass
potential.
the buck until something gets said.
It has potential. It's a lot of armor gain out of 1 2-mana card, and you can read your opponent to know when they have no minions, or at least have no relevant minions, and then of course you can spike it with like Shield Slam, to remove literally anything from the game. But but it also doesn't affect the board on its own. So it's a little iffy. I've seen some very hot and very cold reactions from it from like traditional Control Warrior players. So I'm curious to see what you guys have to say.
All right, so this is the one I was referring to, where there's been some big brains in the community being real positive on this one. This is another one I feel very strongly about. I feel very strongly that this card is horrible. And the reasons are, let's just take away the clause that says give your opponent innervates on every single one of their minions in their hand. Let's take that one away. Let's take away the enormous downside that it has. It is 2 Ironhides stapled together into 1 card. In terms of just like card value, 1 mana gain 5 twice. 1 mana gain 5 did not see play because just armor gain on its own is just not good enough, period, in Warrior. Almost no exceptions. I think there's actually been no exceptions so far. We have Shield Block, draws you a card. Shield Maiden essentially draws you a card by putting a body into play. Ancient Shield Bearer, body. Justicar Trueheart, body. Armorsmith, body. Alley Armorsmith, body. Any other ones that I'm missing?
Point being, they all
they all have something that comes along with it. So the argument, one of the arguments here is that this couples with Shield Slam to kill a big minion, or just to kill a minion in general. So you're putting this in your deck to. Someone in chat said Justicar wasn't played for the body. It was played because it got you a lot of life gain and also came along with a 6th race, so it actually was kind of played for the body as well. If Justicar Trueheart was just an 0-1, it would not have seen play. The fact that it was a 6-3 and also a threat that came along with something made it see play. So this card, if you're putting this in your deck to best case scenario 2-for-1 yourself on a minion, that seems horrible, and you should reevaluate how you're building your Warrior deck. And this is all just speculating without the added downside that it brings. So let's talk about that. Reduce the cost of minions in your opponent's hand by 2. So a mana crystal is worth 1 card in Hearthstone. We have that. It's called Wild Growth. So on each of your opponent's minions, you're giving them 2 cards. You're giving them 2 free mana crystals and 2 cards. An argument that I saw against this is, well, what if your opponent just like plays all their minions and then you brawl them? Like, you can't rely on your opponent just like playing poorly for like a card to be good. That's just like not a real argument. So like you're just giving them 2 mana crystals per minion, which is just nuts. That's a enormous downside for a card that's like not good in a vacuum. And like again, Shield Slam relies on cards that don't force you to 2-for-1 yourself, like Shield Block, Shield Maiden, Ancient Shield Bearer, Justicar Trueheart, those kind of things. And so like you want to play this in like the early-ish to mid game against aggro, but like even then you really don't want to play this then, because you're just going to reduce whatever else they have in their hand. It's terrible against mid-range decks. It's only ever a late-game burst healing play, which at that point, just play one of your other armor cards, or like just remove, like, have a better game plan if you're just relying to like gain 10. I guess this could be like a pseudo counter to like Alexstrasza, like Freeze Mage, but even then, like you're reducing Acolytes and Arcanologists and stuff in their hand. Like I don't see a world or a universe where this card is ever played unless they print a Warrior spell that says like destroy minions in your opponent's hand that cost 2 or less or something. Like I don't see this card ever seeing play ever, and I think this is just instant dust. And I feel very strongly about this one as well, as I'm sure you can tell.
Yeah.
So, not to undermine that, I think this card has a chance of seeing play. But life gain is complicated in that life gain has to either be an additional effect, or in some cases such a huge volume that it's valuable in bulk. The cards I'm thinking of are actually Earthen Scales and Pharaoh Rage. Different classes. They have different
Greater
rules.
Healing Potion too.
Yeah,
Is a
well,
good one.
and Greater Healing Potion, you get it with Shadow Visions, right? You play one of them, you get it with Shadow Visions, you beat an Alexstrasza in combination with Priest of the Feast. You don't play it against Pirate Warrior, you play it against Mage. With Earthen Scales and it has a smaller effect. It's mostly for the life game. But it's also 1 mana. You play it with Gadget Zan. For Pharaoh Rage, you play it because it's also a removal spell. There's, this is an inflexible, big quantity of life gain. And again, I'm talking about this card as though the second clause doesn't exist. So, if you want this card to be good, you have to be in a world where decks exchange cards for damage to you, where you want to slam the door in their face by a brute force quantity of burst life gain. I don't think that world is all that common to find, but I don't think it will never exist. And there were Face Hunter decks where back in the day I would have played this in Control Warrior and they would have lost, where if I didn't have this card, they would have won. Now,
Yeah, I think there's a universe where. Sorry to cut you off real quick. I just want to jump on that point. It's like I think there's a universe where that exists. I think that universe has come and passed in Hearthstone's history. And it's called Small Time Buccaneer Pirate Warrior, where it was the best deck by a mile. And this would have been a great card against them because they just empty their hand and then they have weapons. And then if you were to have this, then you just gain 10 life and be fine.
yes.
But like, I think Blizzard has learned their mistake about that deck and like those styles of decks because everybody hated playing as Aggro Shaman and like Small Time Buccaneer Pirate Warrior and stuff.
And I'm not disagreeing, but card design moves in cycles, and card games are hard to make and hard to evaluate. So
that's true.
I could very easily see a mistake or a world happening on purpose where if this set slows everything down and people want things sped up, maybe they speed it up a little bit. If there's a world where you want a bunch of life gain quickly for a low mana cost, this card belongs in that world. I don't think it exists right now. I think this card is worse than it looks. But if you just need to gain a bunch of life quickly, if you're playing Forbidden Healing, if you're playing Greater Healing Potion, if you're playing Earthen Scales and Pharaoh Rage, and you want an option like that for Warrior, this is that option. It doesn't do anything else. If you're in a matchup where life gain doesn't matter, this card is actually blank. It does nothing. And you never want to play it early because you're dirty ratting on 2, and it's a stupid idea. You just let your opponent deal that damage back to you faster. So you have to play it late game when the mana cost of their cards doesn't matter as much, and if they're either their hand is lower or they're not constrained by mana, they're constrained by cards.
It's like such a medium effect for such a huge downside, and like both of those things are stapled together onto this card and makes it extremely, extremely narrow in terms of like where and when you can play it.
Do you want to talk about neutrals?
I do want to talk about neutrals. I think I got my point across about Bring It On and Blood Queen, because those were the ones I wanted to talk about.
Well, and like we can keep doing theory crafting forever. I think we've all analyzed these cards a little bit, and bring on the neutrals.
All right, so first neutral is 3 mana 3/1 called Shallow Gravedigger. Death Rattle, add a random Death Rattle minion to your hand.
Seems okay.
Body's super weak. Randomness kind of stinks. But like, my theory was like, maybe he's playing Quest Priest a little bit. I don't know. It seems not great.
It's a loot hoarder for Death Rattle decks.
Yeah.
Which is all right.
Would you ever play this over Eggnapper?
Yeah. Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean a random Death Rattle is worth way more than 2 1/1s on the board. Absolutely.
Not in Token Druid where Eggnapper sees play.
Well,
in different decks, definitely.
In different decks, yeah, not for Token Druid, but yeah, different decks. I can see it. It may not stick around, but I can see it.
I feel like we're all agreed on this one.
It's better than the next card we're going to talk about.
Probably.
Oh, definitely.
So, Ticking Abomination. 4 mana 5/6. Death Rattle, deal 5 damage to your minions.
This was the first card we got to see from the set on July 24th.
Yeah, so I looked at this card and like the only thing I could see as of right now, obviously, like still got 100 plus something cards to go, is like Silence Priest is a fine deck right now. Like it's fine. And if you silence this, like it's 4 mana 5/6. You had to silence it, but it's 4 mana 5/6. Like Divine Spirit combos pretty well, so I don't know.
I think it just has Arena written all over it, honestly. If you're at parity, there's nothing on the board. 4 mana 5/6 is pretty good.
Yeah, it plays ahead on curve, and then you can just like
It's
trade up into some stuff and then play stuff after or whatever.
but
And
like
it can crack your own eggs and stuff too, which is something.
That's
it's
true.
it's above the curve on Chillwind Yeti by +1/+1, and your opponent gets to decide when it goes off. Right? It's they don't have to play anything into it, or if they want it to go off, they can play things into it. And so it has to be something where you want your own board to be cleared by playing a 4-drop that your opponent gets to pop. So I don't know.
My thinking about Silence Priest with this one is, in Silence Priest, you play cards right now that you literally can't attack with unless they're silenced. Like they just sit there and don't do anything until they're silenced. And obviously your opponent can like attack into this and stuff, but ideally like they might not want to because it's such a big body and it'll just eat a bunch of stuff. So like I could see this being played in Silence Priest. Like you play Facial Shambler and stuff in there right now in the 4-drop slot, and it's like, all right. It's like a dead draw a lot of the times. So like this could kind of give the deck a little bit more gas and let you combo off even without finding a silence enabler, because this could just attack on its own. Whereas Ancient Watcher and Humongous Rage Relief have to be silenced to be able to attack. But that's like the only applications I see it have past Arena. But again, got rest of the set to see. So
Yeah, I think you can. There's some possibility of it being used to crack your own death rattles, like if you're playing Devilsaur Eggs and similar stuff. Could get you some value.
or the Mage Dragon.
Or the Mage Dragon. Yeah, there you go.
Yes, there we
but
go.
like so the Pit Lord is a 4 mana 5/6 that deals 5 to your hero, and I would say that's less of a cost than dealing 5 to your own board, and that doesn't see play.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure about the future of taking Abomination.
Time is running out for it.
Yeah, it is. In fact.
Yeah.
So next one is, I think it's the most interesting card. I think we'll review tonight. I don't know. It's called Nerubian Unraveler. It's 6 mana 5/5. It's a very simple line of text on it. Spells cost 2 more.
Really, really elegant design. I will say that.
Yep. It is fixed interaction, I think. I'm not going to say a fixed Lotheb because it's not a Lotheb.
No.
But
I don't think it's...
isn't it a 5/5 that makes spells cost more? Tell me how I'm wrong.
Well, it's a lingering effect. It's obviously costs 1 more. It's not just a one-time burst thing. It comes down and it's constantly annoying for your opponent.
And not just annoying, there are some decks that this will actually just shut down. Like Miracle Rogue cannot operate if there's an Unraveler on the board. It's also an aura effect, which means if it gets duplicated via one of several duplicate effects in the game, spells cost even that much more. At the same time, it also makes your spells cost 2 more. So it's an interesting card to use. It's I think it has applications.
It looks like it wants to go in a minion-based mid-range, aggressive mid-range style of deck. Kind of like, I don't know, like maybe Token Druid or something. I don't know. Like
Probably
it just
too slow for Token, but yeah, just
it just wants to get ahead on board, and it wants to be played with tempo while you're ahead on board, so it bottlenecks your opponent's resources.
Right.
That's like where this card is going to shine, which is why it's vastly different than Lotheb, because Lotheb came down on 1 turn. You just like played it on 5 or whenever, and it's just like a one-time thing. And this is just going to sit here and just be annoying until it's dealt with.
Yeah, the other deck it really stifles hard is Jade Druid. It's so
Yes.
spell reliant in Jade Druid,
Yeah.
and
Well,
Jade
and
Druid has no way to deal 5 damage.
Miracle Rogue, Freeze Mage, any mage. Nice
Yep.
Primordial Glyph, idiot. Right? Like it's so everyone that looks at this card is going to compare it to Lotheb. Please don't ever do that. Lotheb was a little bit too good, way too good. Lotheb went in every deck, and this card is a nice mid range tool. I think it's well designed. I expected to see play, but the most important thing about this card is people are going to compare it to an overpowered design mistake, and this is not meant for every deck. And Lotheb went in every single deck.
Yeah, kind of like comparing Blood Razor to Deathbite. They're just different cards.
Yes.
They look similar. They do some of the same things, but they're just different cards.
Yeah, I do like
the only way this card is similar to Lotheb is it lets you interact with your opponent on their turn. And it's a 5/5, I guess.
Next.
we got 2 next cards I'm going to put together. We got the Princes.
Yeah, the Princes are super cool. These cards are awesome.
I'll read them. Prince Keliseth is a 2-mana, 2/2 legendary. Battle cry, if your deck has no 2-cost cards, that's minions and spells, give all minions in your deck +1/+1. And Prince Taldaram is a 3-mana, 3/3 with Battle Cry. If your deck has no 3-cost cards, transform into a 3/3 copy of a minion. So it is a Faceless Manipulator, just in a different package with some high restrictions.
So these are weird. They're so weird. And Prince Keliseth. So I try not to be too negative on this show. Really try not to. I really despise this design because the difference in the games where you have this on turn 2 where you don't are enormous. And I don't like cards that have such huge variability early on in the game. And the effect might not be strong enough to justify playing it because it doesn't hit your hand, and not playing 2-drops is an enormous cost, but the games where you have a legendary on 2 versus the games that you don't shouldn't be as different as Prince Keliseth is going to generate. Taldaram I have less of a problem with because it seems like a late game combo thing. You're not going to play it on 3 because you're just copying something small and random. It's, you might get to slightly upgrade the stats, but if you play Keliseth on 2 and then start playing threats off the top of your deck in order, it's a really big advantage that otherwise you run the risk of not having it all and having no 2-drop because the card says you have no 2-drops. Now,
well, it needs to be said though that it says if your deck has no 2-cost or 3-cost cards, depending on which card you're talking about. That means you can have already drawn them. If they are in your hand and there are none left in the deck, then the battle cry is qualified.
Then I'm going to be even more upset because they high-rolled me by putting 2-cost cards in their deck, then also drew Keliseth on 2 to make his ability good.
Keliseth reminds me of Mistcaller, which when previewed everyone thought was bananas and ended up in practice being absolute garbage. Keliseth, if played early and on a deck that has a narrow curve, can be very powerful, but late game or in a slow deck that already has big minions, it's irrelevant. So I'm not sure how to build a deck with this guy.
Also, early cards, like early interaction, are like some of the most important aspects of Hearthstone.
Yeah.
This just says, take off, just don't do anything on 2 besides hero power ever when you put this in your deck.
Just the idea just sickens me. It's turn 2 is the best turn.
Yeah.
It's when you do all the stuff.
I don't know, maybe you put them into Hamlock?
Maybe.
Are there any 2s you want to play in
You gotta
Hamlock?
have those Mountain Giants be 9/9s. Pretty important.
No, I mean, you can put, Tark Reapers and Kari Fellhound and stuff in there. You want to tap on 2 a lot of time anyways. They don't really have many 2s
You
right
couldn't
now,
play
right?
Doomsayer.
That's true.
So, Hockey Boys has the best idea I've heard
unlucky.
so far. This card goes in Quest Hunter.
Oh, God.
That's about
disgusting.
it, yeah.
You
Right.
play
That's all I see,
28 1-drops, this guy, and the Quest. That's it.
I actually
Then-
see him fitting into Control Shaman, but then I don't care about +1/+1 on my Earth Elementals. It's
Right.
not really.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
care.
being an 8/9 with Ancestral Spirit is like just not
It's
really that relevant.
7-8 is
7-8.
enough. Like,
Yeah,
It's like
reminds
7-8. Like I'm not gonna battle with Arcane Giants and like be worried about that. Like I'll Maelstrom Portal them afterwards.
This
And I'll
reminds
play
me of
Maelstrom
the-
Portals
of
in my deck.
This reminds me of the Druid quest, where once you got it triggered, you didn't need the mana discount because you were only playing 1 minion a turn anyways. Right? Like it's
right.
either the first sentence is bad for you, the second sentence is meaningless. And those are not good choices to make.
Now, Tal'Daram, on the other hand, could see some application because having a copy effect at 3 mana is real good. However, he's legendary, so you only have 1, and you can't have many 3-drops or any 3-drops in your deck. And for a lot of the decks that I can think of that have big combo applications, namely Mage, no 3-mana cards is unplayable. You cannot play a deck without 3-drops. At least for Mage.
I think the community's pretty much agreed that this one would like just slot into like Big Druid, right? Because they only play like an Ironbeak Owl and then like maybe a Tar Creeper or something. Those are easily replaceable by like Spellbreaker and this.
I mean, you wouldn't get to play Feral Rage, which is a little annoying, but I don't think it even plays
true.
it now. It's the 3
Yeah, I think
mana-
it just plays
yeah.
Earthen Scales.
Like
So it's-
you can't ever play this in Hunter because all of Hunter's good cards cost 3. But
Yeah.
in most classes and decks, I think you can find a way to make this work because it's not 2. Because 2 is every deck has good 2-drops. But I think
Yeah,
I think you could find a way to make Tal'Daram work if you wanted to.
Yeah, Tal'Daram I think is a lot more believable as a card.
Yeah.
Like seeing play.
And the other thing about the Keleseth is that you actually have to draw him.
Easy
It's
Prince.
a
Easy
legendary.
Druid.
Like you may, like
Yeah.
Big Druid's combo decks is fine for Tal'Daram because you usually draw out your deck, but for Keleseth, the applications where you want narrow curve decks, like you may never draw him. You may never draw him for games and games. Like it's
I think the first episode of Coin Concede I did with all 4 of you, I went on a pretty decently sized rant about cards with high variability when drawn versus when not drawn, and how they were majorly problematic to the design and feel of the game. And
Yeah.
this is one of those, except it only matters early game. So
Yeah.
it just like this reminds me of like Tuskar high rolls.
Oh God.
Mm.
Oh, I don't want to talk about it.
All right. It's also we're at 2 hours and 15 minutes, and Kenny looks like he's gonna strangle us if we keep talking.
So Bear Shark.
Bear Shark.
All I
3
can
mana.
think of right now is, did you bring some fish?
Well, I did bring
I
some
have-
fish.
I have
One,
PTSD
he's a
right
bear
now.
shark.
Yeah, he's a fish mammal. 3 mana, again, 3 mana, 4/3 beast. Cannot be targeted by spells or hero powers. Neat. Do not know if replaces Animal Companion
Or Eagle Hornbow.
or Eagle Hornbow.
Or any other Hunter 3-drop.
Or
I
Kill
would.
Command, Unleash the Hound, Rat Pack, Deadly Shot, pick a Hunter card. It's probably going to cost 3 because they're all good at 3.
3 is a pretty crowded slot for Hunter. Like I like the card thematically and rules wise. Like it's a good card. It's just not better than everything else on 3 right now. Like it would supplant Dirty Rat. If you're running Dirty Rat, you might want to consider playing this instead. But that's it.
This
mean-
has become my favorite art in Hearthstone now.
It is
Yeah.
pretty amazing.
Like, on the one hand, I don't like 3 mana 4/3s. On the other hand, I like bears and I like sharks, and this is both, so clearly it's better. And Blue Spartan actually raises a really good point in chat. This is what this card is going to, whether it's good or not, is it the left bear shark or the right bear shark?
Oh, that's the right Bear Shark right there, buddy.
I mean, if you can't handle me at left bear shark, you don't deserve me at right bear shark.
I will add this one last bit though. When I was experimenting with hand buff Paladin, the best card in the deck to get buffed was Fairy Dragon because a 4/3 that couldn't be targeted was a pain in the ass.
How
So-
did you buff it?
Like with hand buff stuff.
But hand buffs, yes.
Hand buff,
Yes.
not buff. Hand buff. Yeah,
Right.
like Grimy Goon stuff.
Buff, hand buff, you know.
Yeah, of course. That's exactly what I was thinking. It sounds like a children's TV show. It's
Welcome to Buff, Hand Buff's Playhouse, everybody. This
And-
episode, we got Bear Shark.
so
He's a bear and a shark. He a 4/3, everybody.
Appa has checked out. Brain is goo.
I mean, same TBH, but it's maybe you can smuggler's crate this guy, or maybe you can hidden cache him.
No, it's not worth it.
But it's a bear shark. Let
It
me
is a
have
bear
this.
Well, okay,
This
I'll say-
ability has to be super relevant in like the metagame for this to see play over like the other bananas hunter cards.
Mhm.
But it's like, I think it's a very well designed card. It's just very simple. It's a beast. It's
Yeah.
like fine.
yeah.
Effects powerful. All that stuff.
Last
I don't think it'll
comment-
see play as it is right now, but
No.
you know.
Last comment I'll throw on the pile for this, and then we'll give Kenny his show back. If in the world where Call Pet was a card and people tried to make Call Pet work, the reason Call Pet did not work is because all of the good 3-drops in Hunter were spells, including Animal Companion. So if Bear Shark can be added into a rotation in a wild deck that's going to cheat out stuff with Call Pet, I could see it. You know, coin Call Pet, you know, get a 0 mana Bear Shark or whatever the discount
Boy.
was from Call Pet. Yeah, it would be pretty good.
We're reaching a little bit here when we start talking about, well, the reason
Decks
Call
that didn't
Pet
work
wasn't
to
good
begin
is
with.
because there weren't any bear sharks to go
All
get
right,
with
so
it.
they rotated
It's
out
true.
Call Pet because it made design space very narrow, so they
Yeah, it
couldn't
did.
print Bear Shark.
So now they can print Bear Shark. There's no
and
Call Pet.
they had to get rid of Stable Master because otherwise, if you make this guy immune, he trades twice.
all
That's
right,
crazy.
Kenny, you can have your show back.
I'm gonna mute myself now and stop talking.
I like in our show notes it says Dexplanations, card impressions, 20 to 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You might want to
Yeah.
staple an hour on that one, but
I'd
think-
forgotten what review season was like, but
it's like this.
I kind of just gave up when we took 25 minutes for 2 cards. So I was like, okay, I will let you guys just run with it.
Yeah. It's,
So if you want my review here, so Blood Queen Lanathel I feel is playable in the decks you guys were explaining. The only thing I was going to comment on Blood Razor is that you're trading health for the weapon instead of like for the 3 mana whirlwind dude where you get somebody on the board. The mountain fire armor, we'll pass that. Bring it on, the 10 armor and that I see as like a tech card against aggro. So that I just think of that as a tech card where if you're I don't know, I just see tech card. Moving on, a pass. Nerubian Unraveler, the spells I like you guys were saying, elegant, classic, all those type of words. I like that card a lot actually. And then Prince Keliseth and Prince Teldaram. I don't like Prince Keliseth. Prince Teldaram.
Yeah, Teldaram.
Something.
Teldaram. Yeah, he might see some play. And the last comment on Bear Shark, I think, okay, if you're at BlizzCon and you do cosplay for Bear Shark, I want a picture with you.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
for sure. You're gonna
Yes.
get like a 3-man coin concede.
It's- a picture. I
picture.
want to buy you whatever version of beer that sharks drink.
There is one other cosplay idea that one of our listeners gave us. I think it was Esbroth. That is just amazing. Is somebody cosplay a Stonehill Defender and then just like randomly jump at people and tell them to get out of the jungle and then offer them 3
way.
taunts.
That's
Like just have 3 taunt cards in your pocket. Be like, choose one,
and then get out of my jungle.
and well, get out of the jungle and then offer the cards. Yes.
But that's misleading information because you want them to leave, but then you incentivize them to stay.
True.
Shall we end the show?
All right,
Yeah,
so
let's-
we
yeah,
got
let's-
emails and questions that there's no possible way we're doing. We're gonna
No.
push that to next week, possibly
oh, yes,
the end of
because
spoiler
we'll
season.
totally
Maybe next
have more
month.
time next week. That's what's
Yeah.
gonna happen after.
We're
the
probably
card
gonna
release
we're
stream.
probably gonna table those until spoiler season is over.
If
Honestly,
you wrote us an email, we love you. We're not ignoring you. We just lack the ability to have self-control.
Scott S, Gregory P, and Jasper, we see them, but we're 2 hours plus right now. We gotta get out of here.
All right. So in the meantime, you can fill up our email with coinconcede@gmail.com. Let me go over the thanks here real quick. So Stefanel, you can check out his channel on our show notes, along with the link for Old Guardians tournament analysis. So thank you for from Cinder, I should say.
Yay.
And then you can catch our blog post at coinconcede.com along with our show notes. Twitter's at coinconcede.com. Facebook.com/coinconcede. Our Discord, just go to discord.coinconcede.com. You can shop our wonderful shirts that Cinder does graphics for on shirts and other stuff. We have lots of mugs. I really like Viriatus's mug of the Cabal design you did. And that's shop.coinconcede.com. Big thanks to Viriatus and Psych Mopco. We're going to have to hold off the raffle until next because this is just too long. So we still have a raffle to do this month for our patrons. And we'll get to that when we do. Quick shout outs, Appa.
So I want to give a shout out to, I had a list on my phone, but it's over there. Not going to get up for it. But everybody I met at DreamHack Atlanta, everybody who's listening that met me, I remember all of you. You're on a list. You all were awesome. Thanks for coming to say hi. I signed an autograph while I was there, so that was really cool. And also, shout out to Drunk Hat for him calling me at like 1 in the morning and talking to me about Mark Wahlberg's Transformer movies and trains. I got some good insight on some trains.
Wow.
Hat, do you want to comment on that or tell us your...
Okay. Drunk Hat is a very interesting person. I'm not always privy to his actions. In this case, I basically got a note the next day about the phone call that he had with Appa. So I'm glad he had that conversation and that I have the vague recollection of it. Yeah, and since then I've started sending Taylor and Appa random pictures of small cute animals, which Taylor keeps yelling at me about because she doesn't want to buy anymore and Appa wants them all. So I also want to give a general shout out to our community. I know it seems like a cop-out, but this past week or two, really, I've been super duper busy of just keeping track of things and a lot of work stuff and home stuff and social life and blah, 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 blah. But every time I sign into the CC Discord, people are talking to each other, whether they're new or whether they've known each other for a long time. People are adding me on BattleNet and just saying, love the show. People are finding me on Twitter and just like tagging me to give advice and all that or just to talk to. And the best part about all this is the way that you all interact with each other. So if you're listening to this show, thank you for being a positive part in our community. Gaming communities have been fraught with negativity since gaming communities have existed, and I have never once felt that about our community. I've never once felt that we were a negative place, that people were argumentative or elitist or unwelcoming. Every person I've interacted with has wanted to represent getting better together or just being okay with our current however good we are at the game or however much time we want to spend on it. That's always okay here. And I'm really, really grateful to all of you listening for being a part of that and making that the way we want this community to be, that we're accepting and welcoming and open to everybody and understanding. It's really something special. So thank you all for being that.
All right, and Cinder, you want to piggyback on that?
That kind of was my shout out as well. But I wanted to shout out the Hearthstone community in general. I'm going to tiptoe around this very carefully. A certain Cheeto-colored, weasel-headed individual tweeted something really ugly this morning about
tiptoeing?
it was an ugly tweet. An ugly series of tweets, and the Hearthstone community, with like one exception. But my entire Twitter feed this morning was just people standing up and saying that is not okay, and people are people, and get the heck out of here with that stuff. And I was like, faith in humanity restored. Thank you so much, Hearthstone players all around the world.
All right. Shout out here for me is going to be all the viewers that stuck out these 2.5 hours with us on Twitch. We have Blue Spartan, Drunken Monk, Ethereal Mund, if I'm pronouncing that right, Fagwind, Hatch and Slash, Hockey Boys, P-Sams, Real Wolfmac, Sloviticus, The Avatar, Woodford, and Zach Plays. Congrats, Woodford, on reaching Legends, by the way. Legend. There was another person who else reached Legend for the first time.
Calum, first time Legend.
Calum, yes. One of our
Oh
other
yeah,
patrons.
I had another shout out to give.
Oh god.
It's also a little piece of news. Shout out to Drunken Monk. You going to the viewers list reminded me because he subbed to my stream. And
Yeah.
I got money for that because I am now an affiliate on Twitch.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Got that news yesterday. So
All right. And that's my shout out. I'm not making it any longer. So, Ridiculous Hat, where can people find you?
You can find me still stuck in a coin concede stream. Send help. And also, you can find me on Twitter at twitter.com/ridiculoushat. You can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/ridiculoushat, Monday nights, Thursday nights. You can find me in any Discord. Just speak my name 3 times and I shall appear. Yeah.
All right, and Cinder.
Tweet at me at Cinder Ascendant and follow my Twitch at Cinder, or also Cinder Ascendant, for when I stop casting Saturday stuff for Coin Concede and start doing my own Hearthstone play again. Thank you, please, and thank you.
Woohoo! And Appa.
Twitter is appa_hs and Twitch is twitch.tv/appahs.
Great. And I'm on Twitter at KCCO_gamer. Cora's at Songbird_HS for Twitter and Songbird Cora for Twitch. That does it. That's a wrap. I'm ending it here. Keep calm and chive on. And if you see us on ladder, go and concede.
Coin Concede.
Coin Concede.
Coin concede, help!
You have bested.
Choose death.
You win this one.
I concede. You win this time. Well fought. I concede. You win this one, friend. The victory is yours.
Oh, yeah.